We have some news, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Julio Jones is a Philadelphia Eagle, and I understand a lot of people. Our first question in this live stream coming out asking, did the Eagles just get a little better, and what does this signing mean for Devonta Smith? I want to be on record and say Julio Jones back in the day was one of my favorite players in the NFL. Year in and year out, it was simple. You draft Julio Jones, you figure it out after that. Love me some Julio. However, does Julio Jones have any impact on Devonta Smith? Does he have any impact on Dallas Goedert? Does he have any impact on A.J. Brown? No, he does not. He does not. That's not really big news. Gendry coming out and said, bro, Julio's just filling in for Watkins. They're not going to argue with that at all. Big news is, if you are going to be looking at injuries, CMC may be playing on Monday night, ladies and gentlemen. So don't go all out to grab Jordan Mason off waivers. It's going to be tough because it's a Monday night game. And at that point, I have no idea who the hell is going to play. And if we don't have any clarity, can we go through and rely on just us waiting it out? If you have CMC, you definitely need Jordan Mason just in case. But go Bills coming out saying 2-4. So frustrated. Fields cost me. We have Love, Etienne, Walker, Saquon, Kamara, Sanders, Lamb, Hollywood, Olave, Godwin, Hopkins, Kittle. Would try to baggage a running back with the wide receiver for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is there still any hope? So, last week we had St. Brown as that buy low candidate. We had Justin Fields as the sell high. In reality, it's probably a little bit too late. If you wanted to go out there and make that play, you'd be selling Alvin Kamara if you think Jamal Williams is going to come back in and Kamara is going to have his workload cut down a bit. If you wanted to see if we could sell, say, Alvin Kamara and Hollywood Brown, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Hopkins, Alvin Kamara, Chris Godwin, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and go get Amon-Ra St. Brown, you can. In reality, you're probably going to get rejected. And what I would actually probably be looking to do on 2-4 roster is sell Alvin Kamara and Justin Fields to go get an elite level quarterback if we can. Hospital Mike says 12-team PBR 5-1 offered Gabe Davis for Joshua Palmer. Would you accept? I probably would. Jeep Guy says, how's the Ironman training going, my man? Pretty good. I actually found a stationary bike that I really like. The issue is just biking has been so freaking boring, and I'm afraid I'm going to buy a car. Found a stationary bike at the gym that I really like, so catching back up with biking. And I don't know if I told you this, but last week or whenever, right before my birthday, I went out on a run. I was going to run. I haven't been able to work out as much during the season as I would like. I was going to run like 10 miles, and then I got some new shoes, and it was right before my birthday, and I got in a weird mood. It was nice weather. I ended up just running a marathon by myself, just tracking it on the watch. So it's going well. It's going well. Giggity Goose says, what do you think with Damian Pierce? I'm seriously considering trading him for Jalen Warren in a full PPR format. If you wanted to, I'm not going to fault you, right? Because Damian Pierce, Jalen Warren are both kind of in a similar boat. Neither running back startable right now. Both players are just operating in committees in not great offenses. I don't want to say bad offenses, but not great offenses. Jalen Warren's the more efficient back. And it's like, okay, Singletary gets injured. Does Damian Pierce turn into a league winner? Probably not. If Najee Harris gets injured, Jalen Warren probably does. So I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to do it. Sean says, 12-team PBR 6-0, 3 receivers, 1 flex. We have Herbert, Tyreek, Ridley, Keenan, Kamara, Jacobs, Hockenson, Jacoby. Good offered Waddle, Ayuk, Puka for Tyreek and Ridley. What are your thoughts? Give me Tyreek over Waddle relatively easily. Ayuk versus Ridley, give me Ayuk. But honestly, just go with the best player. Go Tyreek Hill. I understand in this kind of format, maybe depth matters a little bit more. We're 6-0 though. We can figure out depth off waivers. I want to go ahead and I want to keep Tyreek Hill here, especially as we already have Keenan Allen through the bye week, right? You're fine with your depth of Calvin Ridley as a wide receiver 3. Keep Tyreek. Rich says 10-team BBR double flex. Trade St. Brown, Swift, Tajee, Garrett Wilson for JT and Cup, or is this an overpay? Give me Cup over Amon-Ra St. Brown. JT versus Swift, kind of up to you. I would for sure do this deal if we could keep Garrett Wilson. If we are having to trade Garrett Wilson to go get those upgrades, probably much, much tougher to do. Batmax says, do we start Lawrence or stream Jordan Love? Also, at BBR, rest of season, Pittman, Debo, Puka, or Devonta Smith? I am probably going to go with either Puka or Smith or Pittman, just not Debo. They're all extremely close. Lawrence versus Love is extremely close as well. I would definitely prefer Lawrence rest of season. However, Lawrence with a banged up knee versus Jordan Love against the Denver Broncos defense, probably going to go Love there. Jack says, is Zach Charbonnet droppable? I would say no. I'd say Zach Charbonnet is in that mold where he's just a premium handcuff back, right? I mean, if you were to have an injury to Kenneth Walker, then all of a sudden he is a league winner. Sean says, who would have thought DeAndre Swift and Raheem Mostert would be the healthiest? This is a hilarious statement, my man. Yeah, who would have thought DeAndre Swift and Raheem Mostert would be the healthiest running backs in the league this year? That is hilarious. It's pretty funny. Remy says, Sup Mason, I'm 6-0 in a 12-team at BBR, where we have Watson, Smith, Diggs, Ford, Stevenson, Kelsey, Watson. Bench on bye, Breece, Wilson, Dak. Also have Rice, Gainwell, Gus, Jeb Wilson. Any trade or waiver wire suggestions for this week? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit painful this week, having to go through and start the combination of Ford and Ramondre Stevenson. The depth here isn't great. You could go to the waiver wire and see if we can churn some of those guys that we were talking about being intriguing pickups. Long term, though, this is still a great spot to be in. Long term, I think you should be really happy with this team. I'd say if you could go through and sell like Breece Hall and go get maybe Justin Jefferson, if the Jefferson team's sitting at 1-5 and they really need a win right now, I think I'd be looking to something that we're doing on a 6-0 roster. But I really never want to be making a move to cover for bye weeks. Never really making a move to make sure we're just winning this week if it sacrifices our long-term upside, unless we're like 0-6 and we really need production. But no, you're 6-0, you're fine. Rich says, Jacob moving to 0-6. God. Jacob, one of these days, you will join the flock. You will maybe just one day. I don't know about this one, but I mean, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. Maybe you will win a fantasy football matchup. Possibly. I would say step one is to join the flock. Pierce says, trade Kyron Ramondre for Jacobs or Davante Adams. Kyron Ramondre, I mean, completely fine if you wanted to go get either player. Depends on this Kyron injury, of course. Houdat says, are you in crypto, Mason? I never talk about finance because I don't want anybody to listen to me for finance, but I'm interested to hear. Let me know in the live chat if you are interested in finances. What is your cup of tea? Let me know. Let me know. I'm interested to read what y'all have to say. I will be reading y'all's messages. Don't want to talk about it too much out loud, though. Okay. Yoda Pilled says, start Watson with Burrow out this week or Geno Smith. I probably would go Geno, not knowing if Watson really is 100% healthy. And Geno does have a very, very good matchup against Arizona. Very good matchup. Okay. Tron saying options, my man. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Are we you're straight up gambling? But let's move on. Miles says, at BBR 6-0. 6-0, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Kupp, Ayuk, Smith, Flowers. Eckler, Jacobs, Mostert, Ingram. Offered Amon-Ra for Mostert, Charbonnet, or Mostert, Flowers. 6-0 roster. We are just thinking long-term here. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we want to make sure that we prioritize getting the best player and selling off depth. So honestly, with this team, with how strong we are currently, I would be completely fine with us making that play. And selling Mostert and Charbonnet for Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially if Achane's coming back later in the year. Yakov says we have Pollard and Amari, traded them for JT and Adam Thielen. What are your thoughts? Pollard versus JT, give me Pollard. Amari versus Adam Thielen, give me Adam Thielen. I don't know. I think it's a fair deal, and it's going to be up to what you expect from Thielen rest of season. Gleek says, trade Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor for Jefferson, Michael Thomas. It's a 12-team BBR where a lineup would be Mahomes, Brees, James Cook, Waddle, Hopkins, Kelsey, Achane, Rice. I'm 4-2. Okay. I think you're not doing this move. I mean, I understand you're 4-2. Just go get Justin Jefferson to hold on to that long-term upside. But to sell both Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor for Jefferson, that is a considerable amount, especially when it looks like Michael Thomas has just absolutely no value at this point, my friend. Daniel says 10-team BBR 5-1 when we have Hurts, CMC, Taylor, AJ Olave, Njoku, Ayuk, Cook, Sanders, Warren, Palmer, Jameson, Puka. Should I trade Puka for Hawkinson? I mean, I've been saying all season to sell Puka high before Cup was coming back, but with that being said, I think honestly in a lot of spots, Puka's value's fallen a little bit too far. I would say Puka for Hawkinson, though, is a very fair deal if it's a league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex and a 10-team format where wide receiver depth super easy to come by and with those settings. Now, Elite Henry, always happy to see us, says just got offered Eckler and Waddle for Kamara and Cup. Give me Eckler over Cup, Waddle, Kamara, with Jamal coming back, up to you. You said you need running backs. Which ones do you target? I think if you need running backs, let's go get Eckler. I mean, Eckler had a massive, massive role. I mean, I know he didn't necessarily get you there from a fantasy points scored perspective, but if you look at his carries, if you look at his targets, especially in this offense, he's going to be great. Let me roll over and turn the ceiling fan on. Sorry, I live in Texas, so it's maybe just still a little bit hot here, but Jay says, Dynasty, we have Watson at quarterback, Pollard, and just traded Jefferson for Bijan in a first and Watson. Receivers are Lamb, Waddle, Higgins, Myers, Waller. Mayer needed depth. Do we look to trade my first for depth? We could also have Montgomery. I would say no, my man. I mean, I typically in Dynasty am going to be holding on to our first round picks as long as we can. If you are for sure guaranteed that you are a contending team, which it looks like we very well could be a contending team at this point. If you wanted to go through and if you wanted to sell your first round pick, you're not getting depth. You're getting Austin Eckler. You're going and getting Devontae Adams. You're getting Stephon Diggs. You're going to wait until one of those teams that thought that they were a contender realizes, oh crap, I have to rebuild. I need to sell these veterans for future value. Then at that point, we go out there and pounce. The last thing I want to be doing is selling like a future first for David Montgomery, especially an injured David Montgomery. I promise you that's the type of deal that you would really regret a year from now. Brody says, full BBR trade Ramondre for Mixon. Thanks, go. Thank you, my friend. And we would go Mixon over Ramondre. Dill says, is Chuba Hubbard good week 7 or do we go Zach Evans, Jordan Mason? Chuba Hubbard's going to be on bye week 7. So Zach Evans, the Los Angeles Rams, bringing in some more running back depth. Hard to be too excited about Evans. Jordan Mason, really tough to say, okay, yeah, let's just roll with Mason until we get news with the CMC injury. These guys are probably players that you want on your roster, but it sounds like CMC may be good to go on Monday night. Raymond says 12-team BBR 2-4. Trade Barkley and Ramondre for Ridley, Ayuk, Madison. We have Barkley, Ramondre, Spears, JT, Tyreek, Hopkins, Hollywood, and Tank. Barkley to, Ramondre to Madison, give me Ramondre, or up to you, take him out of the deal. Whatever they're Barkley or Ridley and Ayuk, I don't know, probably Barkley. Obviously Barkley has massive concerns with his overall offense and offensive line, but it seems like we are probably selling a little bit too low there. Let me refresh this so I can keep on bringing up these questions. And as I do, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match on Underdog Fantasy, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. So please make sure you're taking advantage of that. Vincent says traded Walker, Curtis, Laporta for ETN and Devonta Smith. So give me Etienne over Walker. Curtis, no value. Laporta versus Devonta Smith, kind of up to you. I mean, we have JT, CMC, Ayuk, Ridley, JT. Just got offered CMC, Ridley for Eckler, Diggs. Should we take it as a double flex format? So, I mean, it obviously is a little bit tough not knowing the extent of the CMC injury and not knowing if CMC is going to be missing this week. Sounds like CMC may be good to go on Monday. And if that would be the case, I'm never really going to tell someone to sell CMC at a discount. With that being said, if we're selling CMC and Ridley for Eckler and Diggs, it's not a big discount by any means. It is a very fair deal. I think it is up to you and solely down to one thing and one thing alone. What do you think about the Christian McCaffrey injury? Do you think it changes his workload? Do you think you need to change your overall long-term expectations? Joaquin says, Mason, my G at BBR, if CMC misses, should we go for Eckler straight up? It's a 12-team, 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, 1 flex team, where we have Lockett, Flowers, Diggs, CMC, Gibbs, Watson, Pierce. Probably not, because if Eckler is saying that he may play on Monday, even if Eckler misses Monday, then at that point, you're assuming that we're only missing 1 week from CMC. I'm sorry if I said Eckler. I meant CMC, obviously. And if we're projecting this out, I mean, the one thing that you would say is, okay, well, if it's a league where you're maybe 1-4, need points right now, I mean, to be fair, Austin Eckler has already gone through his bye, so you'd be getting 2 extra weeks if you were to have any time missed from CMC. So completely understand the thought process behind it. But I think we still have to stand by CMC over Austin Eckler. Blake says 12-team PPR, H.N. Brian Robinson, Mark Andrews for Lamb, Jacoby, and Njoku. So H.N. to Lamb, give me Lamb. Brian Robinson to Jacoby, up to you. Mark Andrews versus Njoku, easily Mark Andrews. I think it's a very fair trade and up to your roster. I think it's a very fair deal and up to your team. Ethan says trade Higgins, Pittman, Madison for A.J. Brown. If it is a start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team league, hell yes. Isaiah says Ridley, Puka, Waddle for Chase, Godwin, London. Yes, I think we're going to do it. We're going to get the best player in the deal. We will go get Jamar Chase, even if we are downgrading at the 2 other wide receiver slots. Elias has started 0-3, 3-3 now. Hell yes, my man. 12-team PPR where we have Mahomes, Brees, ETN, Puka, Godwin, Kelsey, JT, McLaurin, Deontay, JSN, HN. Should we make any moves or stay put? Thank you. No, thank you, my friend. Great spot. We have the Mahomes. We have the Kelsey stack. We're rostering running backs and wide receivers down there on the bench with upside. That's how you started a little bit slow, but if we continue to roster those running backs and wide receivers off the bench and try to hit on those guys when we can, you'll be in a very, very good spot with the bookends of Mahomes and Kelsey, my friend. Moses says 14-team full BBR, 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. 3-3 where we have Fields, Eckler, Kyron, Lamb, Keenan, Ingram, ETN, JT on the bench. Should we make a move or should we wait it out? No, I think you're in a great spot, my man. Obviously, we're going to have to make a play at quarterback. But, I mean, if you're a team that it's a 14-team format and you were built around Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler and had to deal with both of those injuries, it's pretty much the best case scenario. And I mean, absolute best case scenario for you to be sitting here at 3-3, right? Like the team will be much better going forward. We just have to pick up a quarterback off waivers. Ethan says 12-team PBR 5-1. Should I trade James Cook and DK for Bijan Robinson? Hell yes, go get Bijan. Yeah, that's an absolute no-brainer, my friend. Mason says 12-team at BBR traded my Fields Ramadre for Pollard Jaleel. Jaleel, no value. We traded Fields and Ramadre for Pollard. Completely fine with this based off the Fields injury. We have Stroud, Kamara, Pollard, Warren, Jaleel, Jeb Wilson, Jamar, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Michael Wilson, Osborne. Yeah, so the only thing that I would do from here, if CJ Stroud is our starting quarterback, I think you'd be excited to start him now. But you probably still want to roster 2 quarterbacks. So I probably would go through and pick up another QB off waivers if we can. Now, Ludovic coming out says 10-team PBR single flex starting 4-2. We have Fields, Watson, Hill, Kupp, Jefferson, Wilson, Rice, Dell, Barkley, Kyron, JT, White, Laporta. Any move forward to secure the win? I hate to give you this answer, my friend, but it really comes down to just showing patience. We've already shown a decent amount of patience up until this point by us going through and waiting for JT, waiting for Cooper Kupp. So it sucks to get these guys back and then immediately be dealing with more injuries. But still, at the same time, we are dealing with the injuries now to Justin Jefferson and Kyron Williams, and Justin Fields. Since we're 4-2, though, we can afford to wait it out. We can. Now, Vanagan says traded Kyron Stevenson Hollywood for Adams, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm 2-4. My other running backs are Bijan, JT. Receivers are Wilson, Watson, Davis. 12-team PBR. Was it a good move? So Stevenson to Gibbs, full PBR format. Probably give me Gibbs with the Montgomery injury. Kyron and Hollywood for Adams. I think it's going to be dependent on your team, but if you are 2-4 and we needed points now, we can't wait for Kyron to get healthy for the long-term upside. I do think that makes a lot of sense. Chris says 10-team PBR 3-3. We have Lamar, JT, Cook, Chuba, Connor, Najee, Warren, Adrian Brown, Adams, Higgins, Addison, Hollywood, Goddard. Would you accept Pacheco for Cook, Hollywood, and Chuba Hubbard? If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where the depth doesn't matter, yes. Bad Bad Gaming says, Happy BR, can we move Mixon for? I mean, if you could sell Mixon and go get JT, do it. I mean, if you wanted to get off Mixon, to be completely honest with you, I don't necessarily think you need to be selling Joe Mixon. I think Mixon will be fine. iShine says, Sup Flock, full BBR, where we have Stevenson, Sutton, Osborne, Downs, Zach Moss, or Michael Thomas. Pick one. Thanks, Fly. No, thank you so much for being with us for a while now, my man. If we had to choose one guy for this week, it sucks, especially in a very tough matchup, but I think we do end up going Ramondre Stevenson. Gabe says 12-team full BBR Diggs for Pollard and Devonta Smith. If you needed depth at the running back position, I'm fine going and making that move. I think Pollard's a top 5 guy rest of season. Chris says, have BBR 12-team dynasty, trade Dobbs or Elijah Moore and Jaleel for Hollywood. So Dobbs, Jaleel, and a third for Hollywood Brown. If it's going to help you contend right now and you're a contending roster, yes, let's do it. Percy White, always happy to see us, says Mason in a buy and loss. AJ and Connor down to Pollard, Javonte. Pollard's on buy. We have Herbert, Andrews, Hollywood, Madison for Pat, Kelsey, Pittman. Should we take it? Herbert to Pat, give me Pat. Andrews to Kelsey, give me Kelsey. Hollywood to Pittman, give me Pittman. Madison's not moving the needle nearly enough. I want the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Michael Pittman side, my friend, and it's not that close at all. Not close at all. Will says, hey, Mason, 10-team BBR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. We have Lamar, Eckler, Etienne, Puka, Olave, Nico, Ingram. Starting Warren due to the bye. How do you feel about the team? Love the videos. Thank you so much, my friend. I think it's a good team in the long term. Obviously, it's going to be difficult here for just this week, specifically for the flex when we have no Nico Collins. I would assume that we should have a little bit more depth. At least I would assume we would have a little more depth where we didn't have to go through and start Warren, but it is what it is, right? If you have to start him, then you have to start him. And it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, 10-team format. Should just be a 1-week thing. Joe says, who to start? Judy, Jaleel, Quentin, Keontae, Jeff Wilson Jr. Probably going to be going with Judy and Keontae Ingram if we really needed to. Really needed to. Merck says, what waiver wire order? Zach Evans, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary. We'll go in that order. I think Singletary would be an interesting pickup next week. Not too excited to pick him up right now, though. I mean, he's going into the bye. Jacob says, good tight end to trade Drake London to Komet for right now. You're not, if you can get Laporta, get Laporta. You won't be able to. If you can get Hawkinson, get Hawkinson. You won't be able to. If you can get Andrews, get Andrews. You won't be able to. And if you can't get those guys, like the tight ends we're really looking at after are like Evan Ingram, George Kittle range, you know? Dave says, have BBR 10-team league. What would you get to get Achane in the long term? Who to give up now for Henry? Who to get now for Ramadre? Huge fan, buddy. Happy belated. Thank you, my man. Okay, so are you asking, like, should we trade Derrick Henry for Achane? Probably not. Should we trade Ramadre for Achane there? I think we can. Achane's a tough player to trade for because unlike Jefferson, where we know when Jefferson comes back, Jefferson is for sure going to be that elite level option for us, and we are for sure going to have that production. Achane, if the efficiency falls off and you may have a 3-man running back by committee here, it's harder to see that happening. And if you wanted to sell, say, Derrick Henry or Ramondre Stevenson, I think what you'd probably be having to look to do is you'd probably have to go out there and give up them for a running back that's on a bye week right now that people aren't really thinking about. Just go get like Joe Mixon if you can. Now, Real Cold Grant coming out says 1-5, 12-team BBR where we have Herbert, Walker, Brian Robinson, Brown, Adams, Laporta, Ayuk, Flowers, Roshan, Moss. Adams is costing me. What running back can I get with him? I hate to give you this answer, but Devontae Adams right now is, I believe, the wide receiver 6 in the NFL in total targets. He's been dealing with a shoulder injury over the past 2 weeks. I think it should be a little bit better going forward. I think most people are completely off of Devontae Adams at this point, where if you are selling Adams, it's going to have to be at a massive loss, which I don't necessarily know if that makes sense for our team. So I know we're giving you the exact opposite of an answer that you were looking for. If you wanted to sell Devontae Adams, it would have been 2 weeks ago. But now I think that you're not going to get nearly enough to even it. And throw him on the trade block, of course. I mean, if someone wants to give you Austin Eckler for him, Tony Pollard for him, then go do it. But I don't know. Please, Brian says, should we drop Lawrence for Howell? We also have Stroud. Hell no. Keep Lawrence. Keep Lawrence. Play Stroud this week. Kenneth. Oh, I know. I'm sorry. We have drop someone else. Have Stroud on the bench. Forgot Stroud's on bye. Lawrence may end up playing. Don't drop Lawrence, though. Kenneth says, full BBR, James Cook or Gibbs rest of season. Full BBR, I think we're going to go Gibbs. I mean, I know Gibbs is giving you nothing. I think we assume the rookie expands his role, whereas we see James Cook kind of fading to the background. So I don't know. iShine says, what two should I start? Godwin, Ridley, Watson, and Puka. Definitely Puka. Then between Godwin, Ridley, Christian Watson, it will be a little bit tougher. I think you can make an argument to go Ridley if Trevor Lawrence plays. But assuming that Lawrence doesn't play, I think we'll probably want to end up going Christian Watson, given the fact that you are going up against the Denver Broncos. Ray says 12-team BBR, trade Kupp, Ramadre for Chase and Pacheco. Yes, I would for sure do that. Spencer says 10-team BBR format where we have Burrow, Hall, Thielen on bye. We're starting Purdy, Bijan, Warren, Smith, Ayuk, Laporta, Flowers. Shall look to trade for anyone 3-3 in the league. No, we have plenty of depth right now. Once we get these guys through their bye weeks, then at that point, if you wanted to see if we could sell someone like Zay Flowers and Jalen Warren and go get a stud running back, you would be able to afford it with the depth that we have. Clearly, we need the depth this week with these guys on bye, however. I think we are probably just looking to sit on our hands. Yeah, I think you're in a good spot. But we actually have to pull this up on another screen so I can just make sure we're not going to miss any questions. Maybe we have to do some on this other screen. I can only pull up so many at a time with the other one, then it kind of bugs out. But give me a second. And as I do this, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. We're closing in on 300 likes on this live stream. Today is day 172 in a row of live streaming every single day. Not going to miss a day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, You can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Derek Carr special pick of more than less than half a total yard, ladies and gentlemen. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. But our next question coming out from, I believe, okay, sorry. Swing this down. From Fortnite Fantasy says, need running back depth. Starters are Hubbard and Pierce. Should we trade away Allen for a stud running back and a mid QB? If you're telling me your starters are Chuba Hubbard and Dameon Pierce, yes, you cannot afford the elite level quarterback. Yes, you are sadly going to have to get rid of the luxury position and go find some running backs we can be fine with. James says, would you trade Amon-Ra into a for Tyreek Hill? Hell yes. We have Goff on the bench, and the guy with Tyreek won't take off. Yes, let's go ahead and let's get Tyreek, my friend. Shedman says, what's a realistic player to get for Christian Kirk, Najee Harris, running back, or a wide receiver? I mean, if you wanted to go out there and try to trade for a receiver, you could possibly get to Devontae Adams. Right now, people panicking about Adams. St. Brown was our guy last week. Not really going to be possible to go for St. Brown anymore, though. But yeah, I mean, running back obviously is going to be much, much tougher. And if you're going just for a flex, I think it's going to be, makes more sense for you to go for a wide receiver. You're going to get cheaper production there. Now, Justin says, what is Thielen worth in PBR Dynasty? He's currently the wide receiver 3. That's not true, but trade opponent has White, Warren, Hollywood, Musgrave, and picks. That interests me. So, I mean, if you're telling me that we are looking long-term and you are not necessarily wanting to contend right now, I agree that Adam Thielen is for sure someone that we are looking to sell. I would say none of these assets are really too exciting for the long-term. I mean, you can make an argument. Well, Mason, Rachaad White's only in year 2. Rachaad White could easily be replaced going into next season. We know how running backs are treated. If I could go through and if it's a PBR super flex league, if I can get a second and a third, I'd be a happy guy. I mean, if I could get, say, a first-round pick by including Adam Thielen with another piece, we would look to do that. Keep in mind, if it's a one-quarterback league, the rookie picks are going to be worth a little bit less than Superflex. But we can actually swing this back around, ladies and gentlemen, from Windowlick saying, 10-team PBR, 2 receivers, 1 flex. Opponent's team with Jefferson really needs a receiver. We have St. Brown, Ridley, Waddle, Hollywood, Pickens. What should we offer for Jefferson? I would trade a package of any 2 wide receivers, not including Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you're 6-0 and you wanted to send St. Brown and go get Jefferson, I'm fine with it. Outside of that, if you wanted to go through and package, literally send him a message and go, you can have any 2 wide receivers not named Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I'll save your butt, and we'll take the injured player. Even if that injured player is Justin Jefferson, try to spin it. But now, Komaika coming out saying, hey, Mason, any moves I can make? 5-1 PBR, start 3. We have Hurts, Keenan, Hollywood, Watson, Barkley, Kamara, Pitts, Pacheco, Chase, Hall, Myers, Moss, and Jordan Love. Not necessarily any moves right now. Obviously, the depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. We're going to have to wait for Chase to get through his bye week. What I would say is if Jordan Love has a big week against the Denver Broncos, then at that point, if we can go send him to the Justin Fields team, go send him to the Anthony Richardson team and go get an upgrade at like tight end by sending Jordan Love and Kyle Pitts and going and getting to like the Laporta, Hockenson, Andrews range, I think that would make a lot of sense. Or doing the same thing, sending like Love and Moss and going and getting a running back we like a little more. But it's a super good team. I mean, really, we don't have to do anything. Thomas says, need to pick up one guy, Judy Evans, Jordan Mason, Rashee Rice, or Craig Reynolds. Thank you. No, thank you. Zach Evans maybe is the guy. They could also go through and look for Darrell Henderson. I mean, there's so many different ways they could take this. Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey may end up playing on Monday. Craig Reynolds, Jahmyr Gibbs is good to go. I absolutely hate to say this. I may pick up Jerry Jeudy and send up a prayer that he gets traded. Now, NFC says, happy B-Day. Thank you, my man. 2 quarterback at PBR, 3 receivers, tight end flex. We have Hurts, Stafford, Jefferson, Amon-Ra. Watson, Puka, Jacobs, Connor, Brian Robinson, Hunt, Dylan Reynolds, 3-3. Jefferson for Ridley or Thielen, and Watson and Najee. So should we trade Jefferson for Adam Thielen and Najee Harris? I would say hell no. I understand that it definitely is a tough spot to lose both James Conner and Justin Jefferson. We're 3-3. We do need to make sure that we're not just focusing on long-term upside. We need to make sure that we are trying to win right now. I'd be completely fine if you wanted to go out there and sell Justin Jefferson and get back A.J. Brown, get back Amon-Ra St. Brown, and stay in the mix. However, at this price, my friend, I think that you are going to be much better off to just go through and wait. Now, Landolph says, I got to trade for Pickens. I get Devontae Adams. Sell Pickens for Adams in a heartbeat. Jazzy coming out saying, 10 team, have BBR, single flex. We have Jalen Hurts, Chase, Kupp, Henry, Kyron, Waller, Ramondre. Algier, Sanders, Wilson, Watson, Ford. Got offered Jefferson for Henry and Ramondre. What do you think? I'm 5-1. 5-1, 10-team, 1 flex league. Depth's not going to matter that much. We do have a considerable amount of depth on that bench already, particularly at the running back position. I am completely fine in this format, in this situation, going through and trading Derrick Henry and Ramondre for Jefferson. The Conqueror says 10-team PBR 2-4. Trade Metcalf, Kittle, Harris for JT, Andrews, JSN. The team's Geno, Smith, Bijan, Barkley, Collins, Addison, Stroud, Charbonnet, Jeff Wilson Jr., Kmet, Thielen. Lost Anthony Richardson to the IR. Any other moves or thoughts? Well, going from, say, Najee to JSN, give me Najee. Going from Kittle to Andrews, easily Andrews. Metcalf to JT, honestly, give me JT. I think we go ahead and make this move. The issue is, I mean, then at that point, we are pretty much loaded at running back here, right? Like, I'm trying to think, could we then go through and flip a running back for an upgraded QB? We could at least explore that possibility. We could explore it. Kyle says, I have Herbert, Henry, Bijan, Smith, Ridley, Gibbs, Waller, KJ Godwin, currently 2-4. Not sure how to improve. We need a wide receiver 1 or a running back 1. You got a running back 1 with Bijan, my man. Smith will be better going forward. Gibbs going to be better with the Montgomery injury. Honestly, across the board, I think you're going to be fine. What I would say is if you could, I mean, have an easy way to go through and sell, say, Chris Godwin and Derrick Henry and go get an upgrade at running back that way, go ahead and do it. Like, if you can go get someone like Kenneth Walker that's already through their bye week, I think that'd make a lot of sense, especially playing for that guy, trading for that guy that you're going to get the extra game out of when we need the wins early on. Now, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we are 2 likes away from hitting 300 likes on this live stream. Go down there, drop a like on this stream. Today is day, 172 of live streaming every single day. Please make sure you go down there and hit that like button. Anthony says 4-2, 12-team PBR double flex. Got offered Cousins and JT for Justin Herbert, most likely doing it. Running backs are Swift, Brian Robinson, Warren, Charbonnet. Wide receivers, St. Brown, Smith, Kirk, Dell, Logan Thomas. Any other moves? Thanks. So thank you. Let's go ahead. Let's make this move. 12-team double flex format. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. At that point, I think you can afford to go out there and maybe drop one of these players at the very bottom end. Or maybe send, say, a running back like Brian Robinson and Logan Thomas and just see if we can go get a viable tight end return. If you wanted to go get like George Kittle, even if he's going to be volatile, maybe that's something we could look to do. But yeah, with the loss of HN, I think that this trade does make a ton of sense. And actually, we'd probably be holding on to the running backs now that I really think about it until we get HN back. We don't need to sell HN by any means either, since we are 4-2 and we can think a little more long-term here. Jeremiah says, need to pick up a quarterback to start between Love, Wilson, and Sam Howell. I'm going to be going with Jordan Love in a very good matchup going up against the Denver Broncos. Luke says, reasonable trade after this week, assuming Ayuk has a boom week without Debo CMC. A reasonable receiver to chase, giving up Ayuk. I mean, if you could go get Adams, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I mean, you're going to have to try to trade for one of those distressed assets that people are really worried about, right? Like, there's no way in hell you're getting, like, Chase, obviously. Adams, maybe Waddle, Olave, St. Brown. Really, the only, like, distressed low-end wide receiver one that I think you would actually be able to trade for would be Adams, unless maybe we can get Jefferson if that team needs production now. Ryan says 5-1, 10-team BBR, where we have Allen, Kelsey, Chase, Keenan, Watson, Sutton, JSN, Johnson, Jacobs, Montgomery, Gibbs, Warren, Algier. Trade for Jefferson, Smith, Higgins, Bijan, Kamara. I think the Jefferson trade would be the best if we could pull it off. I don't know what we're looking to give up, though, to be honest. I actually don't see a trade on paper that makes a lot of sense. Because also we do lose a little bit of depth ourselves with the loss of David Montgomery. So instead, if you wanted to send one of these depth wide receivers, say, if you wanted to go through and send Christian Watson and get T. Higgins, I think that that could be a move that maybe makes a little more sense here, my friend. Barry says, upside stash, Julio or Fournette. None of the above. None of the above. Jeffrey says 5-1, 12-team non-BBR, where we have Allen, CMC, White, Amari, Hollywood, Cup, Andrews, Palmer, Singletary, Gus, Bourne, Downs, Ertz, HN, Jamal. Any moves? 5-1 non-BBR format. We're looking for long-term upside. We already have it with HN, especially when we want to build around RB. Don't really have a ton of depth to work with right now. I know this may be one of the more frustrating things to hear, and I know it's like, oh, Mason, you're not helping me out at all. I think he's got to be patient, right? We had the CMC injury. We have the HN injury. We had the Jamal injury. We're 5-1, though, so we can afford to just wait it out, and we can afford to just think about the long-term upside for this team, specifically for the fantasy football playoffs, which I think you do have a ton of upside here. So I hate to give you this answer. I know it's the most boring answer. I think you just need to practice some patience, and I don't think you have to do anything there. Sebastian says 10-team BBR, single flex, 2 wide receivers. Trade Tyreek, Tajee Spears for Eckler, JT, Zay Flowers. We have Tua, Jacob, Swift, Kirk, Pickens, Jefferson on the IR, where we're 3-3. So Tyreek to Eckler. Honestly, maybe Eckler, given the fact he's already through a bye, but honestly, kind of up to you. But if we're going to get JT on top for free, give me JT and Eckler easily. I'd say Tyreek Hill is the best player in this deal, but you're getting an extra game from Eckler. You have no Mike Williams. Eckler's going to be really involved as that pass catcher going forward. We saw it on Monday night. So yeah, if we're going to get JT on top of him, let's do it. Now, Punet says Lamb, Pollard, and Lamar for Etienne, Mahomes, and Pittman, half PPR. So Pollard to Etienne, give me Pollard. Lamar to Mahomes, give me Mahomes. Lamb to Pittman, give me Lamb. We're going to go with Lamb and Pollard here, my friend. Now, Benner coming out saying 2-4, 18 BBR, where we have Tua, CMC, JT, Cup, Keenan, Waddle, Hawkinson. Fields, Hall, Collins, Pierce, Hopkins, Madison, McLaurin. Any moves? 8-team league, the only thing we think about is upside, 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 selling depth at wide receiver. So, I mean, if we could go through and sell, like, say, Nico Collins and TJ Hawkinson, or Terry McLaurin and TJ Hawkinson, or DeAndre Hopkins and Hawkinson, and go get Kelsey, that makes so much sense. Or if you want to make one of those same moves with Tua to go get a top 3 quarterback, to go get Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, I think it makes a lot of sense as well in that 8-team league in particular, where those are the primary positions we're trying to build around. IM says drop 1 to pick up 1. Roshan, Warren, Javonte, Dell for a quarterback between Daniel Jones, Dobbs, or Derek Carr. Probably got to go Derek Carr. I mean, the Giants are 2.5-point dogs against the Commanders this week. I don't think Jones is playing. And then who I drop here, I'm going to drop Tank Dell. Now, Soham says 12-team BBR, 1 flex, 3-3. With Lawrence, Dobbs, TMC, Ramadre, Javonte, Tajee, Mitchell, Jaleel, AJ Brown, Flowers, Judy, Downs, Reynolds, Laporta, Frymuth. Looking at Ramadre, Reynolds for Isaiah Pacheco. What are your thoughts? Reynolds never really going to make a difference here for this roster. Ramadre to Pacheco is an undoubted upgrade. So, yeah, I actually would go ahead. I would make that play. Ramon says 10-team PBR 5-1, where we have Lawrence, CMC, Pollard, Hall, Pierce, AJ, Pittman, Thomas, Watson, Terry, Higgins, Pitts, Henry, Richardson on the IR. Do I trade one of my better running back wide receivers for a top 3 QB? So, I mean, here, if you're looking at this team, we don't necessarily have a ton of depth at running back, whereas we do at wide receiver. If you could sell Pittman and Lawrence and go get a top 4 quarterback, whether that's Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, or Lamar, I definitely would do so. I just don't necessarily know if that's something that is possible with the Lawrence injury. You may need to wait till Lawrence is healthy for us to pull it off. Johnny says, Lieber gang, 12-team BBR, got a trade offer pending, in which we would trade away Diggs and Kamara for Eckler and St. Brown. Let me know, please, and thank you. No, thank you, my friend. Diggs for Eckler, honestly, because Eckler's already gone through his bye, give me Eckler. And then Kamara for St. Brown, give me St. Brown. So, yeah, I'm going to go Eckler and St. Brown. I'm not really going to think about this one too much. I think that's easy. Okay. Madeline says, have Lawrence injured, CJ on bye. Do we drop CJ for Sam Howell? The Giants have been good lately. We have Baker, Watson, Carr, or Daniel Jones, or do we roll with Trevor Lawrence? If Lawrence play, oh my gosh. I think we probably drop CJ for Watson. Just in case Lawrence isn't good to go, then we could possibly pivot to Watson if Watson is, which we don't know right now. Yeah, so it's really tough. I think we do drop Stroud just because he is on that bye, and obviously it's very tough timing with the Lawrence injury. We can't drop Lawrence. Ryan says, pick one for the flex at PBR, White, Addison, or Myers. Okay, what are we doing here? I think we probably end up going Addison. The hesitation that I have is he's going up against the 49ers. That's the main hesitation that I have here. That one guy, Lucas, says 14-team PBR, where we have Fields, Kamara, Kyron, Brian Robinson, Keenan, Lamb, Amon-Ra, Higgins. Trade Brian Robinson, Lamb for Herbert and Amari. So we lose Fields. 14-team format will be a lot harder to replace that quarterback position. We are elite at wide receiver. You are not getting a great price here. I'm fine with the move because of our roster. I would look around. I would shop around and see if we can get a better price, though. Completely understand why we would have to do it. Freddie says 12-team PBR 5-1, 3 receivers, 1 flex. We have Hurts, Robinson, Jones, Amon-Ra, Olave, Puka, Ayuk, Ingram. And then on the bench, Watson, Mixon, Gibbs, Chuba. Any ways to improve? Nope. Great team. Only thing that I would say is if we do get a blow-up spot from one of those guys like Christian Watson in a very good matchup against Denver, then at that point, if you wanted to explore the possibility of selling him with Brian Robinson to go get an upgrade at running back, you could look to do so. But by no means do you have to. Now, Clutch Box coming out saying, should I trade CMC, James Cook, Sutton for Mostert, Jacobs, Aaron Jones, Josh Downs? James Cook, Aaron Jones, give me Aaron Jones, Sutton, Josh Downs, who cares? CMC, Mostert, CMC. I mean, if you're spreading out the CMC value, you are just not getting nearly enough in return here. Completely fine with the thought process, but 3 weeks from now when Devon Achane is back, when it may be a 3-man running back by committee in Miami, and CMC is dropping 30 points every single week, you will hate yourself if you trade CMC for this price. I think maybe it'll make sense this week, but long term, I don't know if that's the case. Isaiah says 10-team PPR where we have Stafford, Eckler, Jones, Mostert, Foreman, Allen, Kupp, Myers, Ayuk, London, Laporta, Schultz, 3-3. Should we make any moves? Should we stay put? We have a ton of wide receiver depth here. I mean, if you could sell London and Stafford and go get an elite level quarterback, let's do it. I mean, or if you could sell Ayuk and Stafford to Myers and Stafford and go get an elite level quarterback, we can. Especially when teams are dying for depth at this point, whereas we are sitting here with, an embarrassment of riches in a way. Like, this is one of those teams that doesn't really have an excuse not to have a top-end QB. Now, Human Resource coming out saying 10-team Abby BR 4-2. We have Fields, Burrow, Taylor, Cook, Tyreek, Diggs, Evans, Kelsey. The flex is Pierce, Nico, HN. Any moves or waiver wire quarterbacks? 10-team league, there's a possibility Jordan Love's available off your waivers. And if you could go get like Jordan Love to play Denver, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Really strong team. It does suck that we just have so many guys on bye this week and we have the injuries as well. The only thing I'd say is very similar to what we've said with a few of these other teams. If you are 4-2 and you're dealing with like a stud that's injured like Devon Achane, really there aren't too many trades that we want to be making right now. It's more so just working waiver wires, staying in the mix, and ultimately just being patient and waiting for our guys to come back because we can afford it. Garrett says 2-4 Appy BR where we have Burrow, Pollard, Gibbs, Waddle, Judy, Kelsey, Watson, Palmer, McLaurin. Please help save this season. So I think this team will be better with Gibbs expanding his role with no Montgomery. I mean, obviously wide receiver 2 is just garbage with Jerry Judy. I mean, if you could go through and sell, say, Terry McLaurin and Jerry Judy and go get a wide receiver upgrade there, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because when you are 2-4, this is about the point where we would say, okay, yeah, depth doesn't really matter as much as just going out there and getting some production in this starting lineup right this second. Okay. Now, C. Diesel coming out saying 12-team PBR. We have Foreman, Jeb Wilson Jr. rest of season. Also, Boyd or Quentin Johnston rest of season. With the wide receivers, I almost want to say neither, my friend. I mean, that is brutal. We're going to go Jeb Wilson Jr. rest of season. If we're just chasing upside, don't really know what the ceiling is for Foreman, one of the worst, if not the worst offenses in the NFL. And then Boyd or Johnston, I think the correct answer is neither. If we had to go with one, it's probably, I don't know. Johnston, because he's not on bye this week, so we can make the excuse that we get to see another week of him disappointing a little bit quicker, and so we can cut him a little bit quicker. Troy says 12-team PBR double flex. We have Herbert, Robinson, Stevenson, Hunt, Hill, Puka, DJ Moore, Logan Thomas. The bench, Moore, Montgomery, Mims, Miller, Mitchell, Charbonnet. Trade ideas / targets, plans moving forward. Should we sell Hill for some depth? I'm 8-4 right now. So here in this kind of league, depth's going to matter a little bit more than it would in that like 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. We have the Montgomery injury on top of this. We really don't have much depth down there on the bench. We have Kareem Hunt in our starting lineup. This is one of those teams, especially as we approach the bye weeks. I don't think we have to do it, but I like where your head's at. 99% of the time, I would tell people, nope, let's just go ahead. Let's keep the best player. You don't need to sell your studs for depth. Depth you can find off the waiver wire. However, in this format, specifically with this team, if you could sell Tyreek and get back another stud wide receiver, like say Devontae Adams, and then another RB, like if you can sell Tyreek for like Pollard and Devontae Adams, then that probably help out a lot. You don't have to do it just for anything. Like you definitely want to be a little bit pickier here. Because, I mean, to be fair, you are currently 8-4, right? So if you are 8-4, you do have a lot of, I mean, you have a lot of runway where we could go out there and we could look to make moves off the waiver wire to fill out some depth. Booty Madon, always happy to see us, says, we 5-1, brother. 12-team BBR. Mahomes, Javonte, Ramadre, DJ Keenan, Deontay, Jefferson, Kamara, Kittle, Pitts, Jameson. Do you think we should make any moves? Well, my man, thank you so much for being a member of the flock for a long time. Happy to hear that we are 5-1. Running back, a little bit of a disaster. It's going to be tough to go out there and sell a ton of wide receiver production whenever we have Jefferson injured. I think the big thing that we want to be doing with this team is just saying, staying a little bit patient. So what I would say is we're probably going to go ahead and see if we can send like Jameson or Ramadre, Jameson and Javonte, and go get a running back upgrade somewhere. If we could, it makes sense, but much easier said than done. Kyle coming out saying, 2-4, 12-team BBR. We have Ramadre, Mostert, Calvin. For Chase, Zach Moss. My receivers are Debo, Pickens, Chase. Running backs, Jones, Walker. What are you thinking? Two and 4, we need production right now. Obviously, it's frustrating with Chase being on the bye. These other guys are still going to have to go through their respective bye weeks as well. Really may not be viable in the short term, depending on the injury that we have specifically to Trevor Lawrence. I understand the idea. I think we probably have to keep Chase unless we're getting overpaid, and I don't know if we're getting overpaid there. BSG says, what should I move DJ Moore and /Watson for? Not selling Christian Watson, not really getting much. DJ Moore was that sell-high guy for us last week. DJ Moore and Jerome Ford, if you can pivot over for Devontae Adams. It's probably going to be the name that we mentioned a lot this week. The names that we were mentioning a lot last week were Lamb and St. Brown. I just don't know if those guys are going to be possible trade targets now. But I think we can get Adams. And I still think that Adams is an elite receiver. Now, Vic says, trade from earlier. I sent Amari, Taylor, Ferguson for Adams, Laporta, Najee. So Amari to Adams, massive upgrade. Ferguson to Laporta, massive upgrade. Taylor to Najee, massive downgrade. I think it's a completely fine deal. And potential trade right now, sending Swift, Goff for St. Brown, Hall. Are these a good or bad trades? First one, I think is decent. It's an 8-team league, so we want the best player in the deal. So Swift and Goff for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Breece Hall in an 8-team league. Yeah, we would make that deal relatively easily, my friend. We'd do that easily. Okay. But we're going to have to go through and refresh this on the other page so we can keep bringing these questions up. So as I do this, please, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We are less than 10 likes away, ladies and gentlemen, from hitting 400 likes. We have live streamed every single day since April. Yes, every single day without missing a day. Not going to miss a day until 2024. So make sure you go down there, hit that like button if you have not done so already. Subscribe to the channel. And, of course, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat in the description or the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard. So please make sure you are taking advantage. But our next question, let's see. Can we find where we left off? Coming out from David, who says, give Pollard and get DK and Taylor, thanks. If you're really desperate for some depth, you can go ahead and do it. In reality, I don't know if I love it, my friend. I don't know if I love it. I just think that Pollard's like a top 5 RB, and a DK Metcalf's like a borderline high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2. If you look at this season and the last 2 years. Jed says, love your content. Solid, no BS fantasy advice. Drop Tank Dell for Downs or Rice. Thank you so much, my friend. I would be fine if you wanted to go through and make this move. I mean, obviously it sucks because with these rookies, we're really just looking for these guys that are going on that upward trajectory. All these players are. The thing is, I would say maybe Tank Dell's the most exciting, but also Tank Dell is on bye this week. So he's the one guy that his situation's not going to be changing whatsoever. So we're not going to get any additional information. So if you wanted to drop Tank Dell for Downs or Rice, I'd be completely fine with either guy. Can everybody help out Jet? Can you spam the live chat? Who do you want out of this list? Do you want Tank Dell, Josh Downs, or Rashee Rice? Dell, Downs, or Rice, please spam the chat. Nick says 10-team full BBR where we have Hurts, Jacobs, Brees, Cup, Brown, Andrews, Flowers, Aaron Jones giving up 850 points. Oh, that is brutal. 10-team league. Want to prioritize the elite quarterback, the elite tight ends. We do have the elite quarterback with Hurts. We're getting Aaron Jones back from his injury. I think that we just waited out. If you wanted to, I mean, this is a great team. Great team, honestly. I think you just waited out. Britton says trade DK for Laporta and Gus Edwards. That win. If you needed a tight end, I'm fine with it. DK wide receiver 23 from points per game perspective right now. Past 2 years, been outside the top 24. Now, iSnap says, hey, Flock, happy BR teams. Lawrence, JT, Pollard, Ridley, Hollywood, Amari, Kittle, Robinson, Stroud. Do we trade Hollywood and Brian Robinson for Metcalf? If not, what do I do? I don't do that. I mean, I'm fine with the idea with the depth that we have, but you just need a much, much better wide receiver if we're going to do this, especially if we're going to be selling an RB here that's viable. I mean, going back to what we were talking about previously, I mean, with DK Metcalf, he's big, he's strong. Obviously, a lot of people get excited when you see him on the football field and he looks great. Ultimately, from a fantasy perspective, he's a low end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. It's like we're just saying this off a small sample. This is going on 2.5 years that's been the case. I just don't think Metcalf's the guy we want to be going for. Now, Bailey says a 4-2, 12-team PPR where we have Cup, Hill, Higgins, Amari, Etienne, Jacobs, Achane, Javonte, Charbonnet, Jeb Wilson, Burrow, Pitts. Thoughts on the team? Should we trade Amari for Gibbs? Don't necessarily know if we want to be sending Amari for Gibbs because, I mean, you will get Montgomery back at some point. You will get Deshaun Watson fully healthy at some point. So even if the trade maybe looks to make sense in the short term, long term, that may not necessarily be the exact move that we want. I think it's a team that it's very boring to say, and I'm sorry to say it. We're 4-2. We really just need to be practicing some patience, right? If you're 4-2 here and we have Devon Achane injured, we just need to be practicing some patience and waiting for this guy to come back in the long term. Now, Omega Les Paul, always happy to see us, says 4-2 and first in the league. 10-team at BBR, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Do I move a running back for a wide receiver stud? We have Mostert, Pollard, Kyron, JT, Brees. Oh, hell yes. Honestly, I think we can afford it. I mean, if you wanted to go through and send like Mostert, if we're 4-2 with that long-term upside, I have him ranked as the top 5 running back this week. He's been a top 5 RB this season. But obviously, long-term, if Achane comes back, maybe not necessarily that same player. If you wanted to sell Mostert and like Zay Flowers, another player that's exciting on the come up for a round 1 wide receiver right now, I think you do that. Simon says, Hurts and Laporta for Kelsey. It's an 8-team league. I would only entertain this in an 8-team format if you have another strong QB. Batmax says, happy BR, Meyer, Frymuth, or Logan Thomas rest of season. I'm probably going to go Pat Frymuth, but I did draft a lot of them, so I'm biased. Blake says, hey Mason, 14-team BBR. We have Stroud, Kyron, Swift, Jamar, Moore, Waller, Deontay. The bench is Love, Kareem, Wandale, Jamison, Keontae, Ingram. A 14-team league, depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. So honestly, with that being the case, I think we sit on our hands. At this point, you definitely want to be rostering 2 tight ends just because, I mean, it's hard to rely on Darren Waller from week to week perspective. So we're going to be sitting on our hands, roster 2 tight ends, and just play the matchups between Waller and like someone like Michael Mayer. I mean, go pick up Michael Mayer and see if something happens for the long term. Burner account says, no receivers. Are you trading Hurts for CJ Stroud and Keenan Allen? Can I roll with Love? Yes. Go. I love Jalen Hurts, my QB1, but if I can sell Jalen Hurts and go get Keenan Allen in a league with where we have no wide receivers and pick up someone like Stroud and play Stroud and Love the matchups week to week, that makes a lot of sense. Jacob says 12-team, 1 flex. with Allen, CMC, Bijan, Cup, Metcalf, Hawkinson, Hollywood, Watson, Palmer, Dobbs, Ahmed, Ingram, McJaleel, and Khalil on the IR. Any advice? So we have 2 top 3 running backs, so CMC, Bijan. We have the elite wide receiver who's made it back with Cooper Kupp. So great team. I mean, I understand 3-3. Maybe you're rolling your eyes going, Mason, how are you? Come on, man. But, you know, you're 3-3 and you were able to overcome what we had with the injury specifically to Cooper Kupp, right? The injuries to guys like Khalil Herbert not going to matter nearly as much. It looks like CMC may be good to go this week. I think you're in a phenomenal spot. Luke says 10-team, full BBR, 5-1. Receivers are Amon-Ra, Ayuk, DJ Moore, Adams, and Osborne. Kind of the same question as the guy earlier. See anything worth sending for Jefferson? I would send Devontae Adams straight up for Jefferson. I would go through and I'd send Brandon Ayuk and DJ Moore in a package in a 10-team league for Justin Jefferson. And to be honest with you, I think that they would probably rather trade for that package of 2 guys. So yeah, if we can go through and send, say, DJ Moore and Brandon Ayuk for Jefferson, let's do it. Okay. Now, J-Max says, I have to pick a quarterback from waivers, but I don't know who to drop. Options are Roshan, Javonte, Tank Dell, Josh Downs, Jameson. And what quarterback should we pick up between Baker, Sam Howell, Dobbs, Pickett, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr? Thank you as always. No, thank you, my friend. Ooh. If we're going to be looking at someone to drop, I think we're probably going to be dropping Tank Dell. And a quarterback to pick up, I'm probably going to go Derek Carr. Not the easiest thing in the world, but I think we drop Dell and pick up Carr. Okay. Now, Sir Dredgen says, hey, Mason, 5-1, happy BR, looking to try to get a stud receiver, or should we stick it out? We have Allen, Eckler, Etienne, Olave, Lamb, Ridley, Waller, Addison, White, Charbonnet, Najee, Hill, Ferguson, and Jeff Wilson Jr. So, I mean, we have Olave, we have Lamb, we have Ridley. I think we have great wide receivers here, my man. I mean, you can afford it when we have this kind of depth. If you really wanted to go through and make a play, specifically in a league, if you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I think we're a little bit more inclined to actually go through and see if we can send maybe like Jordan Addison and Darren Waller and go get a stud tight ends. I think if we could make that move, it would be, in my mind, better. Hayden says 4-2, 12-team, 1 running back, 2 flex. We have Russ, Lamb, Waddle, Moore, Godwin, Watson, Palmer, KJ, JSN, HN, James Cook, Gibbs, Kelsey. Send DJ Moore and Waddle for Chase. If rejected, Lamb and DJ Moore. Thank you, Gino. Thank you. I definitely do the first deal. The Lamb and DJ one is a little bit tougher. Actually, no, never mind. Even if it's a double flex league, if you only have to start 1 running back, then still, depth's not going to matter too much. So yes, we will make either deal for Jamar Chase. Okay. Miles coming out saying, what's up again? Would you trade Mixon, Jefferson, Myers for Adams and Swift? It's a 14-team happy BR format where we have Brown, Fields, not too much depth. Jefferson to Adams. Give me Jefferson long-term. Obviously, right now it's a little bit tougher. Mixon versus Swift. Give me Swift. Paying Myers to get it done. I don't know. I probably prefer the Mixon, Jefferson, and Myers side, to be honest. I think that there's more value there. I do like the idea, though. Now, Joe says 4-2, 10-team PBR, 3 receivers. Tua, Eckler, CMC, Brown, Waddle, Pickens, Kmet, Brees, Mixon, HN, Davis, London, JSN. Any trades? Need a better wide receiver 3. We have running back depth. Yeah, I mean, we do have a considerable amount of depth here at RB. I don't necessarily know if there's a trade that we're going to be making this week. I think that we're going to be riding out the bye weeks. And then at that point, as we're 1 week closer and as we have these guys to the bye and hopefully CMC fully healthy, then if you wanted to take like Joe Mixon and go send him for a stud wide receiver from a team that maybe needs a running back, you can go ahead and make that move. It's just, it's going to be difficult to do so right now. Right? It's going to be tough to make that play today. Andrum says PBR 12 team, 3-3. We have Stroud, CMC, Jacobs, Amon-Ra, Hopkins, Hawkinson, Brian Robinson, Nico, Warren, Watson, Palmer, Sanders, Roschon, Elijah, Jeff Wilson Jr. Best move for a wide receiver upgrade. Thanks. So thank you. Wide receiver upgrade. I don't necessarily know if that needs to be our number one priority here, especially if you look at our team, right? Because on our team, who has value? I mean, on the bench specifically. Nico Collins, that's it. You know, we have like one player that you could reasonably get some trade value for at this point. So if that's the situation that we find ourselves in, we're probably going to be a little bit better off to actually just kind of we're going to be better off to wait, hold it out, make moves off the waiver wire. I would love to tell you, oh yeah, let's go get a wide receiver. In reality, I don't know if we can afford a wide receiver upgrade. Like if you're in a situation where we have a ton of depth, then yeah, let's go out there and let's sell one of these pieces that we may not need. However, I don't necessarily see that this being one of those teams. Now, Chris says 10-team PBR, where we have Lawrence, Henry, Aaron Jones, Waddle, Metcalf, Lockett, Jefferson, Thielen, Javonte, Jaleel, 5-1. Am I good for the playoffs? So yeah, we have Jefferson coming back long-term. I mean, we still have a considerable amount of wide receiver depth. I wouldn't mind at all. I mean, especially as we get 1 week closer to having Jefferson back. If we wanted to send like Adam Thielen and Derrick Henry and go get a stud running back, like this is that team where we are so strong where we can afford to go out there and make that 2-for-1 deal and get an upgrade in the starting lineup, right? Where it still makes a lot of sense for us to go through and make that trade. However, it's just going to be tougher in that other instance, like that team that we looked at previously, where we didn't really have as much value as this team does on the bench, where we can sell Adam Thielen on this team, and this team doesn't even really notice. Okay. Now, Ojama says, brother, need your help. Got offered Hawkinson and Christian Kirk for Eckler. Is it worth it or no? Or Kirk Cousins for Eckler? I would definitely prefer Austin Eckler. I think Eckler's a top 3 asset in fantasy right now. Already through his buys, one of the very few running backs getting absolutely everything. Okay. Now, iShine says, half point BBR, Shaheed or Cortland Sutton. I will go Sutton over Shaheed, even if Shaheed's been good for our best ball teams. Gary says, is Devontae Adams a must sell and is Ayuk a wide receiver 1? Devontae Adams is not a must sell. Devontae Adams is still getting a considerable amount of volume. It looks like a lot of people are panicking when it comes to Devontae Adams. I mean, it looks like you are panicking when it comes to Adams. So if anything, I'd say that Adams is maybe a little bit more of an intriguing buy. But Angus says, Devonta Smith owner panicking. Should we sell Addison for him? It's close. And actually, we may be able to pull this up on the other screen at this point. It's close if you are looking at like the Addison range, because with Addison, of course, you do have Jefferson coming back for the long term. I'd say maybe in the short term, you could say Addison's maybe a little bit more appealing than what you would have with Devonta Smith. But no, I mean, long term, knowing Jefferson's coming back, I think we can do that, my friend. But give me a second to pull this back around. And as I do this, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. We've live streamed every single day since April. Not going to miss a single day until 2024. And of course, if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, also get a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. So please make sure you take advantage. Now, J Baby says, Waddle, Addison, Cook for Kupp and Aaron Jones. Which side? Aaron Jones over James Cook easily. Kupp over Waddle and Addison. So we're going to go Kupp, Aaron Jones. Jones to the bye as well. John says 8-team at BBR 3-3 lost Ajin, Kyron, Jefferson. So traded Tua for Jones. We have Gibbs, Hurts, Diggs, Pittman, Kittle, Stevenson, Mixon, Nico, Watson. Got offered Olave and Jonathan Taylor for Justin Jefferson. Should we take it? So 3-3, we need points now. However, it's an 18 league where depth's not going to matter as much. I mean, and we just went through and traded for Aaron Jones, so we have someone that's playable right now. If this was a 12-team format under these same circumstances, I think I would possibly say, you know what? Yeah, it's fine. Let's go out there and let's sell Justin Jefferson for these two startable pieces. I still stand by that. I think that you do have Jonathan Taylor as an intriguing buy low candidate in certain spots. But here, I don't necessarily know if this will be one of them. Rock Bottom says Quentin Johnston or Deontay rest of season. Deontay Johnson easily. I think Johnston may be droppable. I think Johnston is droppable in shallow redraft leagues. Johnny says Ayuk and Gibbs for Diggs and Javonte. Javante's in a 3-man running back by committee in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, but we still want the Stephon Diggs side. Just Javonte has nothing to do with it. Rocky coming out says 1-5, 12-team BBR where we have Stafford, Diggs, Ridley, DK, Olave, London, Myers, Jameson, Bijan, James Cook, Moss, Algier. Trade DK, James Cook for Derrick Henry. One in 5, we need points now. James Cook losing his job. We have a ton of wide receiver depth. I am okay if you wanted to do this. I don't necessarily love it just because Derrick Henry is not in an offense that we are interested in at all at this point, but I understand if you do want to go do it. If you want to do it, you do you. David says 12-team full BBR 5-1. Jefferson on IR. We have Cousins, JT, Walker, Pittman, Watson, Andrews, Jamal. And then on the bench, we have Burrow, Foreman, Collins, Dotson, Osborne, Everett. Any trades? Okay. 5-1, we're thinking long-term here. JT will continue to expand his role long-term. Depth is a massive issue with this team. So I'd say no trades that we're going to be making. The primary thing is just trying to optimize the bottom end of that roster. So I think we're going to go through and drop someone like Gerald Everett and go pick up a running back or wide receiver off waivers. Now, David says Adams, DK, Judy for Jamar Chase, 3-3, 12-team league, 5th place, full BBR, where we have Tua, Tyreek Wilson, Dobbs, Kyron, Pollard, Hockenson, Atwell, and Jalen Warren. 12-team league, depth's going to matter a little bit more. Judy has no value at this point. I think we can go ahead and make this move. I mean, if you just remove Jerry Judy and saying he probably doesn't have any value and ignore the name value, it's like Adams and DK. DK is a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 for Jamar Chase. I think you can go get Chase if you wanted. Ryan says Davis or London for the flex spot. We're going to go Gabe Davis, Madison, Dillon, or Javonte at RB2. We're going to go Madison. I was actually very impressed to see Akers kind of get phased out in this offense for Madison. Pseudo says 12-team BBR, 2 quarterback. We have Adams, Cousins for Zay, Hollywood, Kyron. 2 quarterback league. It's Kirk Cousins and Devontae Adams by a mile. We have Burrow and Bryce at quarterback. Henry Pierce at running back. Yeah, I mean, it's Adams and Kirk Cousins here. Not even close in a 2 quarterback format, my friend. Give me Adams over Kyron in Hollywood and give me Cousins over Zay relatively easily in that 2 QB league. Trustlock, always happy to see us, says trade Jacobs and Lamb for Etienne and Amari. Okay, so Jacobs to Etienne, give me Etienne. Lamb to Amari, give me Lamb. Probably going to keep Lamb and Jacobs if I'm to be honest with you, but it is very close. Noob says top 3 guys you drafted, now you're regretting, and top 3 guys you were high on that have panned out. My 2 most drafted wide receivers were Thielen and Sutton. That is awesome, my man. Let me go ahead and pull up just my underdog exposures. So, I mean, I have a much better idea, and I can give you real numbers of these guys that we drafted super often. I'll say the guy that I drafted very often that, looking back, I don't want to say it was a bad decision, but Dallas Goedert not looking nearly as hot as what we thought. I thought Goedert round 7 was going to be great. Obviously, drafting Trey Lance at the beginning of the offseason was a massive, massive blunder. I'd say that's probably number 2. Who's someone else at the top that looks bad with our exposures? I drafted a lot of JT when the contract disputes happened, and before JT fell to rounds 4 and 5 in underdog drafts. I was drafting a lot of Jonathan Taylor at the 2-3 turn, thinking, okay, if he ends up getting dealt to like Miami, we have a league winner. I thought it was in the range of outcomes. Clearly, it didn't happen. So I'd say Taylor's that other guy that I regret. Now, the hits, Josh Downs and Saquon Barkley are my second. I'm sorry, Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr. are my second and third most drafted wide receivers in underdog drafts. And then Travis Etienne is my third most drafted RB. So we hit massively on the Colts wide receivers and Travis Etienne. Dylan says 10-team full BBR, 3-3. We have Allen, James Cook, JT, Aaron Jones, Kupp, Puka, Kelsey, Lockett, Moss, Hopkins, Dillon, Michael Thomas, Gibson. Kind of nervous. Last place, shaves head and beard. Oh, my man, that's gonna be a tough one. Okay. So if we're worried about not getting last, it's not like we can say, okay, let's sell all our, no. The floor actually matters. Here we have Kupp back in. We dealt with an Aaron Jones injury. We dealt with the Kupp injury. We dealt with the JT injury. Super strong team. We have Josh Allen. We have Travis Kelce focusing on running back, wide receiver, upside down there on the bench. You're in a beautiful spot. I don't think you need to panic at all. I think it'll be much better going forward. And honestly, I don't even think you need to make any moves. Now, we are 1 like away from hitting 500 likes on this live stream. If you have not done so already, hit that like button. Help us hit 500. Less than 10% of y'all have hit that like yet. Sherm says trade Brian Robinson and Amari for Jacobs or for JT. I would do it for either running back if we have the wide receiver tap to pull it off. Drew says, do we trade Adam Thielen for Puka? I think I would rather have Puka over Adam Thielen. I think he's maybe in a better offense, but I'm not going to fault you if you wanted to go with Thielen. Sam says, next week I have 5 starters either injured or on bye. I'm 3-3. Do I just rank next week instead of, assuming you meant, do I just tank next week? We definitely don't tank next week, right? We'll be making waiver wire moves to see if we can at least stay competitive. Do we go out there and do we make trades? Are we going to be making trades to cover for a buy? Hell no. We're not sacrificing any long-term upside for the short term, right? Derek says, 3-3, 10-team, Happy BR double flex. Lamar, Ridley, Ayuk, Evans, Judy, Jameson. CMC, Bijan, Jacobs, Brian Robinson, Najee, Herbert, Ingram. Think I should trade for a wide receiver. Double flex format, wide receiver depth's going to matter a little bit more. We're starting Ridley, Ayuk, Evans. And yeah, wide receiver 4 is a little bit brutal. Yeah, if you could send like Brian Robinson and go get a strong wide receiver for that flex spot, I think that'd make a lot of sense. I think we have the running back depth, and obviously, I mean, there's so many running back injuries right now that we could get a considerable amount. Ryan says, can we ask the chat rest of season, Higgins or Watson, roll flock? Everybody in the chat, please spam. Are you going to go Christian Watson or T. Higgins rest of season? Christian Watson or T. Higgins rest of season. Please let us know in the live chat. Brody says 3-3 PBR, where we have Ridley, Moore, Mixon, Barkley, Amari, Jefferson T for a Hollywood McLaurin, Swift, Smith. Team is Herbert, Pacheco, JT. Okay, so Ridley to Amari, up to you. Moore and Mixon versus Barkley. Honestly, very close. Jefferson and T For Hollywood, McLaurin, Swift, and Smith, we're definitely going to go Jefferson and T. The team doesn't really need depth. I mean, we're strong as is. If you believed in Barkley for the long term, you can make the first deal. My issue is obviously still, I mean, it's a very tough spot to go through and say that Barkley is going to be good, right? I mean, just because the offensive line and just because of the offense. Mitt says trading Ridley for Jacobs. Great move. I mean, I'm surprised that you're able to get that price. Joey says, love your content. Great stuff. Thank you, my man. 12 team at BBR 4-2. We get receiver with Wilson, McLaurin, Pickens, Sutton, Dell. Should we pick up Rice or Dell and drop who? Okay. So if it's Wilson, McLaurin, Pickens, Sutton, I would not drop any of these guys for Rice or Dell. If you were going to make an argument for one drop, it would be Cortland Sutton. The reason I'm not going to be dropping Sutton right now is there's the outside chance that Jerry Jeudy gets dealt. And or there's the outside chance that you have a Cortland Sutton trade for himself as well, right? So we're probably not doing anything right now. But thank you so much for always being with us, my man. Now, Saul says 12 team, full BBR, 4-2. We have Mahomes, Barkley, Cook, A.J. Brown, Amari, Ingram, Evans, Deontay, Rashee Rice, Reynolds, Quentin Johnson, Dillon, Mitchell, Spears. Any trades? I think it's a very strong team. I would say that there are no trades. The lack of depth on the bench is a little bit concerning. I think at this point, you could probably say that Quentin Johnston is someone that we can go ahead and cut. I don't necessarily know if Josh Reynolds has a ton of upside either. Whenever now you're looking at a situation where with Josh Reynolds, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams back in. So I don't know if, like, what has to happen for him to turn into like a must start player for us? So I think we just make a couple waiver wire moves. I don't necessarily think that we're going to be making any trades there, though. Okay. Now, Keji says 12-team BBR where we have Tua, Eckler, Montgomery, Ridley, Waddle, Kmet, Evans, and then on the bench, Jeudy, Dell, Roshan, Breida, Henry, Jameson. Targeting Dillon on waivers, 2 and 4, make moves or sit still. The thing is, we have no depth on this team. I would love to go out there and I'd love to trade for a better tight ends. But ultimately, it's going to be very difficult when like, what player on the bench could we possibly trade for any value? It may be Jameson, but we have the Montgomery injury as well, so we kind of need as much depth as we can get. All I would say is let's go through and let's make sure that we are cutting Matt Breida at this point with Saquon back. Now, Big Anime Guy says 16-team, 4-flex league, very close to a done deal to receive Eckler, T, Nico, and Pickens for Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Curtis Samuel. So keep in mind, in this format, picking up the extra starter is going to make a big-time difference. Going from A.J. Brown to Eckler, give me Eckler. Going from Barkley to Nico and Higgins. In a regular league, I'd go with Barkley. In this one, I'd be completely fine if you wanted to go through and grab 2 startable players. And then going from Curtis Samuel to George Pickens, you'd clearly rather have George Pickens. I don't necessarily know if you're getting a ton of value here. You're maybe giving up a little bit too much. I do like the idea, though. I like the idea, which we have. Gary says 12-team PPR 3-3. We have Purdy, Bijan, Taylor, Adams, Ayuk, Logan Thomas, Metcalf, Olave, Wilson, Chuba, Curtis Samuel, Schultz. Do I need to make any moves or start Olave over Metcalf? Yeah, start Olave over Metcalf. And Devontae Adams, yeah, Devontae Adams is going to be fine. He's like number 6 in the NFL in targets right now. I mean, I would like to go out there and upgrade either quarterback or tight end if we can. The issue is we just don't have enough depth to do it down there on the bench. I think we also start Schultz over Logan Thomas, go through and drop Logan Thomas, pick up someone else off waivers. And then if we can eventually pick up some of these guys off the waiver wire that change what we have down there on the bench, then maybe we can look to go out there and make a move. But for now, we're probably stuck on our hands. Like, realistically speaking, what player here could we get some value for, you know? So I think that long-term, yes, give me an upgraded quarterback, upgraded tight end. Short-term, we're probably just going to more so have to focus in on moves off waivers. Now, Eddie says, Amon-Ra for Chase and Aaron Jones. Oh, yeah, give me Jamar Chase and Aaron Jones easily. Easily. And St. Brown was that buy low guy for us last week, but still. Okay. We're going to have to swing this around to the other page. Just give me 1 second here, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do this, let me remind you, hit that like button if you have not done so already. Less than 10% of y'all have dropped a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you want to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK. They'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you will get our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers with promo code FLOCK and a Derek Carr special pick'em more than less than half a total yard for the game tomorrow or 2 days from now. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to have to find out where we were. Okay, we are with Jay's question, who says 3-3. Only have Lamb, Debo, Judy wide receiver. Okay. Trade Goddard for Pittman and pick up Michael Bayer as my tight end. Also this week, do we start Rice, Osborne, or Curtis Samuel? We will go Osborne till Rice has a full workload. Rice does look very exciting, though. And I will say, yeah, we would trade Goddard for Michael Pittman. I mean, Pittman just getting into considerable amount of target volume here. Zach says, make any moves or stay up. 12-team PPR where we have Hurts, Etienne, Hall, Ridley, Waddle, Ingram, Godwin, Roshan, Herbert, Pierce, Reynolds, Deontay, Jeb Wilson Jr. If that's Justin Herbert, I'd love to go through and see if we could sell Justin Herbert and one of these wide receivers like Godwin for an elite receiver in the flex. If that's Khalil Herbert, I think it's a very well-balanced team where we're not going to be really looking to do anything. Skyward says, have BBR where we have Tua, Hall, Hill, AJ Brown, Goddard, Flex, Lamb, and then on the bench, Higgins, Pierce, Watson, Javonte Watson. Do I sell Jones and Lamb for Bijan and Andrews? Give me Bijan over Lamb. Give me Jones versus Andrews. Kind of up to you. Probably Andrews, but it's close. I mean, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Texas Longhorn over the Oklahoma Sooner any day of the week. Horns. I am very biased, but I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson here. And all jokes aside, I think you should too. Steven says, people worried about Devontae. I'm as cool as a cucumber. I mean, I'm pretty cool about same thing. People worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown last week. We were going through and trading for Amon-Ra St. Brown everywhere we could. This week, people are worried about Adams. Cool. If you want to, last week, let us trade for St. Brown. Let us trade for Lamb. This week, if you want to let us trade for Adams, you do you. I'll do me. Burner account says, super weak at receiver. Should we trade Hurts for Allen and CJ Stroud? I think we answered a similar question to this earlier. No, my friend. I would go through and out trade Jalen Hurts for Keenan Allen and CJ Stroud. We'd also ride with Love. Yes, I think we already answered this, but I would love to make that move. Beyond says, got offered Hurts, Smith, Gibbs for Lamar, Jeff, Ridley, 2 and 4. We have Kupp, Wilson, Zay, Rice as wide receiver depth, Bijan, Hall, Spears as running backs. Okay. Lamar to Hurts. Give me Hurts. Jefferson, 2 and 4. I'm fine if we wanted to sell Jefferson. I just think that maybe it's not the right price tag. I think that you want to keep Ridley on the Jefferson side if we are making that move. Robert says, sent a question earlier but didn't get answered. Okay, let me go through and see if we can find this for you, Robert. Assuming we probably answered it, but let me see anyway. Come on, YouTube. Let me hit Control F. Okay, I'm sorry, my friend. It's not letting me go that far back. I'm assuming what typically happens when someone says this is they're thinking, Mason, you're taking way too long to answer my question. He must have missed it. And then we end up answering it like 5 minutes after. So I am sorry, my friend. I'm sorry. But I'm assuming we answered it. And dear God, what just happened with this? Okay. Yeah, Robert, please let me know what it is in the live chat. I'm sorry, I can't find it. Now, as we wait for Robert, Aiden saying 10-team BBR, get Brian Robinson Walker, get Etienne, Jacoby, or Terry. Walker to Etienne, give me Etienne, and then the running back to a wide receiver, who cares? So, honestly, I think you're fine doing it. Jacoby, Terry, you can sell. I think, honestly, it's just your personal preference top to bottom. I will say, like, Etienne's not necessarily, Kenneth Walker's not necessarily someone that I am looking to actively sell. Because Walker's not only been crushing it, but at the same time, keep in mind, he's also through his bye week, right? So we're going to get an extra week. Okay. Now, Chief Perp, always happy to see it, says 2 running backs, 2 flex, Barkley, Jacobs, Walker, Swift, Etienne, or Aaron Jones if he plays. Aaron Jones against Denver, but is he fully healthy? I'd assume so coming out of the bye. Also, Ridley or Watson at wide receiver 2. We're going to go Watson if we have no Lawrence. If Lawrence plays, we'll go Ridley. And then at running back, we are to be going with Jacobs, Walker, Swift, Etienne. So I want to get Aaron Jones in there. Obviously, the beautiful matchup, but we probably can't. Okay. Robert says traded Etienne, Barkley, DJ Moore, Christian Watson for Kelsey, Chase, Chuba. Triple flex league where Kelsey's going to matter a little bit less here. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. Going from Etienne to Kelsey, give me Kelsey. Barkley and DJ Moore to Chase, give me Chase. Watson to Chuba. I'm fine with this league. I'm fine with that trade. I would just say that in that style format, I probably don't like it as much, my friend. Now, Josh says 3-3, 12-team BBR. Traded Bijan Swift for CMC Ridley. Then Ridley, CMC, Elijah for Tyreek Pollard. So essentially we traded Bijan Swift for Tyreek and Pollard. Bijan versus Tyreek, give me Tyreek. Swift versus Pollard, give me Pollard. I like the deal. I think it's a strong one. Dale says 8-team full BBR format. Should I trade Waddle and Amari for AJ Brown? Hell yes, especially in an 8-team league where the depth doesn't matter. I might need to throw in Dell or Hollywood. Who cares? It's an 8-team league. Do it, my man. Ryan says, do we drop Quentin Johnson for anybody off the waiver wire? Hunt, Palmer, or Zach Evans? I mean, at the minimum, you drop for Joshua Palmer, right? And then also, if you need a running back, I think you make a play for either one of those guys. Now, Colin says, lost Fields, pick up and start Jordan Love or Sam Howell. We're going to go Jordan Love since he's playing Denver. And then one wide receiver, one flex, Evans, Christian Kirk, or Jonathan Taylor. Here we're probably going to be benching Christian Kirk. Now, Johnny says, should I trade Ayuk for Kamara? We have Ramondre Stevenson, Aaron Jones. Should I go David Montgomery? My receivers are Kupp, DJ, Ayuk, T in a 10-team league. I would make this deal. I don't necessarily know if Kamara is like a player that we're super excited to go out there and trade for, though. Just because if you are looking at Alvin Kamara, this is a running back that maybe, just maybe, takes a step backwards when we get Jamal Williams here when it comes to the volume. Dylan says 4-2, 12-team AppBBR league, 2 quarterback super flex. We have Goff, Dak, Etienne, Edwards, Chase, Adams, Nico, Addison, Goddard. Who should I trade for a running back to? I think you're most likely going to be looking to sell Nico Collins there with Gus Edwards to get an RB2. I mean, obviously much easier said than done. Now, Steven says 3-3 PBR league where we have Herbert, Henry, Ramondre, Brian Robinson, Kupp, Devontae, Laporta, Olave, Lockett, Dell. Any thoughts? I think it's a team where we have a ton of wide receiver depth. Where if you really wanted to go through and send like, say, Chris Olave and Derrick Henry, even if I love Chris Olave, the player, but if you wanted to go get a running back upgrade there from a team that maybe is struggling during the bye weeks, I think it's a move that we could afford. Now, our verse says Purdy, Walker, Kyron, Kupp, A.J. Brown, Komet, Gabe Davis, Spears, Jefferson, Kyler, double flex 4-2, A.J. Brown, Davis for Pollard, Garrett Wilson, and Michael Thomas. A.J. Brown, Pollard, up to you. Davis versus Garrett Wilson. Give me Garrett Wilson. If we're looking at this team, if we lost Kyron and we have Cooper Kupp coming back in, I'm completely fine if you wanted to make that trade for Pollard. I still do view Pollard as a top 5 running back, and he's someone that I didn't draft a lot of that I wish I had more of. Dame Dallas says 12-team PBR single flex. We have Lawrence, Rashad White, Swift, Ridley, Andrews, Hopkins, JSN, Samuel, Spears, Elijah, Jameson. I was offered Lamb for Mark Andrews. Do I take it and pick up Mayer, Musgrave, or John or suffer with Hopkins in the bench? I would go through and I would trade Andrews for Lamb. And then we will go to the waiver wire and we'll pick up someone like Michael Mayer or Luke Musgrave, someone that has that long-term upside. And in reality, I probably look to actually pick up 2 tight ends. I mean, if we're just rostering like a waiver wire tight end, you'd always go through and pick up 2. That way we just have some upside in both ways. Now, Caesar says, have BBR 10-team league 2-4. We have Burrow, Bijan, James Cook, Olave, Ayuk, Lamb, Kelsey, Downs, Connor, Deontay, Judy. What should we do? We've lost 4 in a row. Dear God, my man. Starting off 2-0 and then dropping 4 is tough. We have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight ends. We have a quarterback that's going to be better coming forward. James Cook is kind of shrinking here. We're going to get Deontay back in. I'd say if you're 2-4 at this point, if you could sell, of course, easier said than done. But if you could sell James Conner and go get an upgrade somewhere in the starting lineup for right now and sell that long-term upside for production in right now, I think that would make sense, right? I mean, specifically on a team where we're 2-4, we can't really sit here and go, oh, well, James Conner still has long-term upside. No, we need to be thinking about getting someone in here who's going to make it where we do not drop the 5th game in a row. Now, Chief Perp says, any kickers that you like? I would be lying to you if I said yes. Had Aubrey, need to stream a kicker for this week, picking up Brett Mayer, but I figured I'd get your opinion. What I do with kickers, if I really need to give any advice, I'm looking at implied team totals. I want a kicker on a team that is going to have as many points scored on it as possible. I know obviously you can go a little bit more in depth with that. You can say, oh, okay, well, no, maybe instead we want to go through and we want to focus in on getting kickers on teams that'll have trips to the red zone but won't be able to cash in, blah, blah, blah. Good luck finding that with consistency. So I would just go through and I would just primarily focus in on teams that are scoring a lot of points. Now, Stefan, always happy to see us, says, some of the same questions for you. 4-2, 12-team BBR. We have Tua, Monrod, Diggs, Ramondre, Roshan, Walker, Kirk, and then on the bench, London, Najee, Sutton, Higgins, Montgomery, Zach Charbonnet, any moves. So, I mean, we do have a considerable amount of wide receiver depth, especially long-term when you get Higgins back in. I don't necessarily know if this is something we're going to be looking to do right now, but I mean, starting next week especially, or honestly, we can afford to do it right now if you wanted. If we could sell Ramondre Stevenson and Drake London in a package to go get an upgrade at running back, I think that'd make a lot of sense, especially when we're going to get, Higgins as a viable option coming out of the bye week soon, right? Okay. Bid Moon says, any last minute rankings on the waiver wire this week? You're not. I appreciate you, my friend. It is tough because Zach Evans has added competition. Jordan Mason now may not be viable if CMC is good to go. All I would say is whatever you are doing on the waiver wire, if you have the top waiver wire claim, it's not worth using. Or if you're using a fab system, don't go super aggressive. Because I'm not, at this point, without things have shaken up over the past 24 hours, I'm not super excited about any of these waiver wire guys. Now, Eduardo says 2 and 4 got offered Laporta, Ayuk, Aaron Jones for Andrews and Kamara. Andrews to Laporta, give me Andrews, but it's up to you. Kamara for Ayuk and Aaron Jones. I think we will go Laporta, Ayuk, and Aaron Jones. I think we will. D-Lang says Kirk, Sanders, Myers, rest of season. I'm probably going to go ahead and I'm probably going to take Christian Kirk and then Lions or Browns rest of season defense. We will go with the Browns defense. I mean, the Browns just shut down San Fran. I understand they had injuries. I understand that the weather was bad, but still. Now, Keller coming out saying 2 and 4, where we have Lawrence, Stroud, Bijan, Montgomery, Brees, Roshan, Warren, Waddle, Evans, Nico, Wilson, Osborne, Jefferson, Kelsey. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and a flex. Kelsey seems to be the only target my league is interested in. Well, yeah, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, my friend. I mean, nobody in their right mind would overlook wanting to trade for Travis Kelsey. This league settings, we're wanting to hold on to Kelsey if we can. Wide receiver depth, we have it. Running back, it's a little bit more questionable with the Montgomery injury. But Bijan will continue to get better. Brees on bye this week. We'll start Roshan this week. I think we should be fine in the long term. The only thing is you may end up having to cut KJ Osborne and go out there and pick up a quarterback for this week if Lawrence does not play. The other thing is if we could sell Jefferson for like A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown on a 2 and 4 roster, we probably have to. Dave says Amari Judy for Aaron Jones Higgins. I'm going to go Aaron Jones and Higgins. Rex says, my man, we just made a massive trade in the mod league. I sent Diggs and Mixon to Mark for Bijan and Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson's nothing, my man. So you just got Bijan. He needed a wide receiver and I needed a running back. I don't remember the league settings off the top of my head. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think it is a fair deal and you could kind of go back and forth. Keep in mind, I am valuing Michael Wilson as a legitimate 0 in this league here. If it is a league with double flex spots, I probably want Mark's side of things. I would probably rather have Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon. I see Mark in the chat, guys. Please let me know. Was this a double flex league? Let me know. Let me know. Slick Reg says Frymuth or Higbee from the waiver wire rest of season. I'm going to go Frymuth with Higbee. Cups just making it where he's not getting really any volume. Now, Chairforce 1 says trade away Tyreek and Breeze for Adrian Brown and Keenan. Have Jalen Hurts, Swift, Eckler, Breeze. You can afford it. I don't know if we love it. You can afford it if you wanted to do it. But Tyreek, AJ Brown's a massive downgrade. I don't know if I love it, to be honest. Mark says single flex. Oh, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. I think it is a fair deal. I think Mark would have won the deal easily if it was a double flex format. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I mean, I think it depends on y'all's teams. Now, Thomas says 8-team full BBR 4-2, ranked 2. Hurts, Barkley, Mostert, Diggs, Waddle, Goddard, DJ Moore, Amari, Lockett, Mixon, Thielen. Do not love this team in an 8-team format in particular. And hell yes, if you could trade Amari Cooper and Jerome Ford and go get Justin Jefferson, that's what makes this team in the long term in an 8-team league just an elite level roster that you are pumped about, my friend. That is an absolute no-brainer there. Okay. Now, CJ says 8-team BBR, Breece, Pittman for Pollard and Goddard. I'm going to go with Pollard and Goddard there in an 8-team league. Give me the best player, which is Pollard. Now, Brian says, full BBR traded White, Zach Moss, and Lamar for Austin Eckler, Jalen Warren. We have Stroud starting at quarterback now. 4-2. Was this a good move? Yes, this is a phenomenal move. Obviously, if you have Stroud, we need to roster 2 quarterbacks, at least for this week during Stroud's bye. Probably going to be rostering 2 quarterbacks regardless and just playing the matchups between the guys. But yeah, let's roster 2 QBs here. Omega Les Paul says, okay, so Mostert, Flowers, trading up for a stud wide receiver. Do we go Cup or Diggs for the Allen Diggs stack? Unlikely I can get Hill since the owner has great running backs. Mostert, Flowers. If you wanted to go get Cup, let's go get Cup. I mean, or Diggs or Chase. If you could get any of those wide receivers, or Tyreek, obviously, send them for all 4. The worst thing they can do is say no. It is very difficult to sell Mostert right now, but I mean, if you're getting one of the elite level receivers, you can make an argument. Colin says 12-team BBR, single flex, 4-2. We have Herbert, Swift, Jacobs, Montgomery, Hubbard, Keenan, Moore, Ayuk, Kirk, Dobbs, Kelsey, Laporta. Any moves? Love the team, but if we have Kelsey and Laporta, let's sell Laporta. Let's send him with DJ Moore and go get a stud wide receiver. I think that's the move that you all are honestly obligated to make if we have Travis Kelsey. Hassan says 3-3, 10-team BBR, where we have Lamar, Purdy, Eckler, Walker, Pacheco, Mixon, Kyron, Lamb, Ridley, Lockett, Puka, Flowers, Myers. Any moves? We needed a wide receiver upgrade. If you could sell like Purdy and one of these depth receivers and go get an upgrade that way, that makes sense. But in reality, I don't think you need a wide receiver upgrade by any means. I think you have a very well-balanced team that should be better as the season goes on. The only thing is if we have Lamar, we're starting Lamar every week regardless. I mean, we could go through and always play the waiver wire if he gets injured. So yeah, the only thing I'd say is if you could sell maybe like Flowers and Myers in a package and go get a stud receiver, let's do it. But you should be fine with Lamb, Puka, Ridley, Flyers. If you can do a 2-for-1 deal and get upgrade, sure, do it. Now, Brandon says 10-team BBR, where we have Watson, Pollard, Cook, Brian Robinson, Roschon, Tyreek T, DJ Moore, Amari, Palmer, Nico, Deontay, Sutton, Andrews. 4-2, what move should we look to make? DJ Moore was that sell-high guy for us last week. It would be much harder to sell him now. But, I mean, we do have just so many wide receiver pieces, especially with Deontay Johnson coming back. I mean, if we could go through and sell like Amari and Deshaun Watson and go get a stud quarterback, or like DJ Moore and Deshaun Watson and go get a stud QB, I think that would make sense on the team that has that wide receiver depth. It's Zaz coming out saying 10-team full BBR. We have Lamar, Olave, AJ Brown, ETN, CMC, Hawkins, and Saquon. The bench is Nico Collins, London, Chuba Hubbard, Zay Jones, Alexander Madison. Any moves? Okay. Not necessarily. This is a phenomenal team. We have the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end. We have players at the very top. We're dealing with the CMC injury, so maybe we need to hold on to our depth just a bit. I think this is a picture-perfect team. I think you're in a great spot. I say Zay Jones, probably cuttable, though. D-Brob says, waiver wire advice, Love versus how we're going to go Love given the matchup against Denver. And then Zach Evans versus Kareem Hunt. Probably going to go Zach Evans and just see what happens this week, but it's very possible that he's not the guy here. Now, Sam says 10 TBBR. We have Watson, Pollard, Montgomery, Cook, Aaron Jones, Chase, Keenan, Olave, Addison, Hawkinson, Warren, Roshan, Taji, Nico, Rice, Richardson on the IR. I'm 3-3 and worried. Who would you trade for? With the Montgomery injury, we kind of need to hold on to our RBs. I would say, I mean, we have this kind of wide receiver depth on top of it, though. If we could sell like James Cook and Deshaun Watson and go get a quarterback upgrade, let's do that. I can go James Cook, Deshaun Watson, and go get any of the top 4 quarterbacks. I think that'd be an absolute no-brainer, much easier said than done. But with Anthony Richardson on the IR, that'd be like the one trade that we would be looking to make. And of course, you can throw in someone like Rashee Rice if it gets it done. Now, Connor says 12-team PBR, double flex. We have Fields, Pollard, James Cook, Tyreek, Smith, Laporta, Warren, Roshan. And then on the bench, Achane, Gabe Davis, Dobbs, Dotson, Stroud. Any trade targets. Double flex league, the depth's going to matter a little bit more. We have the injury to both Fields and Achane, so the depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. So honestly, I don't necessarily know if there are any trades that we can afford to make right now. I'd just say the primary thing that we're going to be looking to do is go through and make waiver wire additions. And if you were looking to make any waiver wire calls, we're probably going to go through and look to pick up Jordan Love to cover for Justin Fields this week, given the Fields injury and the Jordan Love matchup. Thomas says, would you drop a number 1 waiver wire claim on Hunt or Fournette? No, I would not. Brandon says, 2 quarterback, 2 flex, 10 team, BBR. Do I trade Purdy, DJ Pierce for Cousins, Pacheco, Watson? Purdy, Cousins, give me Cousins. A DJ to Pacheco, up to you. Pierce to Watson, give me Watson. Second quarterback's Lawrence. We have Diggs, Olave, Eckler. I think it's a fair deal, and it's up to you. I don't think you have to be worried too much about bye weeks. I understand if they have the same bye lined up, blah, blah, blah. If you can use it as a tiebreaker, then sure, do it. It just does suck. I mean, both quarterbacks obviously missing out on some weapons. It'll be harder to project them out the beginning portion. I mean, sorry, not the beginning of the season. I mean, for over the next month in the year. Okay. Now, fun guy coming out saying 10-team full BBR, double flex, 6-point passing touchdown. Tua, Hill, Waddle, got that double stack. How the hell are we only 3-3 if we went all in on Miami, my man? Pollard, Walker, Andrews, Evans, Watson, Moss, JSN, Stroud, Jeff Wilson, Samuel. Any moves to make? This team is so much better on paper than our record is. I would say if we could sell Stroud and like Mike Evans and go get an upgrade at the flex spot when we have Tua that we can start every week regardless of quarterback, that'd make a lot of sense. But I'm just shocked that we're 3-3. In a league where we have the Miami double stack. That's a phenomenal squad. David says, happy BR Dynasty. We're 5-1, looking to get Waddle for the Tua stack. We're sending two future first Pickens for Waddle, a third, and you're selling too much. It's unnecessary. You're selling all your. I love Waddle, especially in Dynasty. But I mean, to sell both your future picks, if you could sell a future first and Pickens to go get Waddle, then sure, do it. But to include the other first round pick, the third and fourth rounders are just literally useless. I don't think this makes really much sense at all here, my friend. Brian says, 10-team BBR, what can we get for Kittle and Addison? I'm very sorry to give you this answer. Nobody's buying Kittle right now. You're probably enough sit on your hands. Like, to try to sell Kittle the week after he gives you a goose egg, it's probably not the right way to go about it, especially if we were dealing with Debo and CMC injuries. Maybe he's better this week, and then we could look to sell. Bullman says Addison or Pittman for the flex. Tough spot because Pittman does have a very tough matchup going up against Cleveland. Now, with that being said, you still got to go Pittman. David says 12-team Superflex. By the way, love the content. Thank you, my man. Yeah, if it's a Superflex league, it's even worse to sell those first-round picks. But we're going to have to go through. We're going to have to refresh this so we can keep bringing up these questions. And as I do this, If you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. I mean, we've live streamed every single day since April. We are going to be live streaming every single day till the end of the season. Hell, we've been live for 2 hours tonight as well. Go down there, hit that like button. Okay. Now, Haram coming out saying, full BBR pick one, Judy Evans or Craig Reynolds. Judy, possibly based off him getting traded. Colin says, losing record, who should we trade Jefferson for? Either A.J. Brown or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Lamb, possibly. Jeremiah says, just traded St. Brown, Watson for Lamar and Hollywood. We have Diggs and Cup with Aaron Jones. If it is a super flex format, definitely give me Lamar. If it is a 1 QB format, you paid too much for your QB, my friend. Caleb says, got offered Smith for Tua, Nico Collins. We also have Mahomes. Let's go try to get Adams instead. I like buying low on Smith. Just his value right now is way less than that. Julian says, full BBR trade Taylor for Garrett Wilson or Amari. No, I'm going to keep Taylor there, my friend. Sundribble says, traded Achan for Mixon and Dameon Pierce. What are your thoughts? If you needed production right now, I think it makes a lot of sense to just go get Mixon. Josu says, 12-team BBR 3-3. Trade Hill Pacheco for Walker, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb. Pacheco to Walker. Probably give me Walker. Hill to Amon-Ra, Lamb. Let's look at this team. Honestly, if you're lacking running back depth, I think this is a fair price point if you wanted to sell Tyreek Hill. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, I'm just saying, you know what? Keep the best player, make them overpay, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, if you really wanted to go through and make this trade, I'm not going to fault you at all for doing it. I think you could if you really wanted to. Okay. Now, Kyle says 10-team super flex, 3 receivers, double flex, 5-1. 6-point passing touchdown, where we have Hurts, Stroud, Minshew, Saquon, Hall, White, Sanders, Hubbard, Lamb, Olave, Smith, Collins, DJ Moore, Palmer, Jameson, tight ends, Evan Ingram. Any trade ideas? Tyno, thank you so much for helping out with like confusion in the chat. I really appreciate it. Okay. But super flex, super comfortable spot with the quarterbacks. We're 5-1. We can think about the long term here. We have okay running back depth. We have okay wide receiver depth. I would love to see if we could actually know. It's a league where we start 5 wide receivers. So honestly, in a league where we start 5 wide receivers, I think you're golden. I think that you're in a really good situation, and I'm not really looking to do anything, especially as we approach the bye weeks here, where just depth does matter ultimately a lot more. So very strong team. Optimized for this format in particular. I don't think we need to do anything. Jason says, should we sell Thielen? Where do we aim? We need running back depth. If you could sell Thielen for Mostert, Jacobs, Walker, Swift, Barkley, Kamara, I think we have to do it. I think, or Jonathan Taylor, I think we go for it. Diego says, PBR, who to start in the flex? Ford, Moore, Watson, Flowers, Osborne. We're going to be going with, tough spot. Definitely not Jerome Ford. Probably DJ Moore, even without Justin Fields. I mean, it's not like Fields was any good. Christian Watson, Flowers will be close. I'm probably going to go Watson for the reason being he's going up against Denver, where Flowers going up against Detroit. Now, Cammy coming out saying, struggling at running back, 4-2, happy BR super flex. Oh my gosh, beautiful team. Allen, Hurts, Amari, Collins, Kirk, DK, Jacobs, Moss, Connor, Hawkinson. Any suggestions? I hate to be the just boring guy here, the wet blanket. I don't necessarily know if you're going through and making any moves when it comes to trades. I think we have Moss that we can play right now if we really need to. And yeah, long term, we will get Connor back. I think we just need to be going through and working the waiver wire with running backs for the time being. But Zach says, QB is Lawrence, drop Cousins, or the Dallas defense for the Browns defense? Who do the Browns play? Indy this week? Who does Dallas play? Dallas is on bye. Super tough spot. I would love to drop someone else if we can, or I'd love to go to the Richardson team to see if we got to find another option. I don't think either of these options are viable, my friend. Caesar says, haven't answered my question yet. I don't know if it got lost. Yes, we did answer that, my friend. I'm assuming that you just sent that. The one that we lost 4 in a row. Yes. We went through and said you had to sell, that long-term asset to get some production in right now. Colin says 2 and 4, trade Jefferson, trade Stevenson, trade Hall. If you're 2 and 4, yes, you may have to trade Jefferson. You may have to go get St. Brown. You may have to go get A.J. Brown. You have to go get someone who's going to produce right now. Now, David says, took your advice, traded Ford and Flowers for Adam Thielen. This is a W. I like selling Ford. I don't necessarily know if Thielen's the guy that I particularly wanted to buy. If Thielen keeps doing what he has been, it's a W. I just don't know if Thielen can keep this up. Joey, always happy to see us, says 10-team league, most points wins, 3 wide receivers, where we have Allen, Saquon, JT, Cup, Chase, Hollywood, Kelsey, Flowers, Higgins, Mixon, HN, Connor, Hubbard, Palmer. Anything I can do? Thanks, Space. No, thank you, my friend. The elite quarterback, the elite tight ends. We have cut back. This is a phenomenal team. The only thing I'll talk about is if this is a league where you don't have a fantasy football playoff system, and I don't know if this is what it is, but I played in a lot of leagues like this, just seeing if it is. If you don't have the fantasy football playoffs, and it's just the most points win the league, then at that point, when you do get an injury to someone like Devon Achane, you are just significantly more likely to go out there and look to sell him, even if it is at a loss. So if we could sell Achane, I guess the thing is, in your regular fantasy football league, right, where you have the fantasy football playoffs, you're saying, okay, maybe he's not going to do anything now, but still in the long term, yada, yada, yada. He can be coming back for the fantasy football playoffs with an incredibly high ceiling. When you get someone injured like that, like HN or James Conner, if we can sell them and just make sure that we are consistently running up points, that will be something that we are looking to do. But obviously, it's very specific to your format. I think you're in a great spot. Now, Jovi says, Mixon, Brian Robinson, Pickens to get Aaron Jones, Higgins. Antonio, I see you, my friend. Please be a little bit patient. Your question's in about 4 questions. I promise you, I'm not going to miss anybody's question. Just be a little bit patient. But Jovi says, Mixon, Brian Robinson, Pickens to get Aaron Jones, Higgins. We have Jacobs, Kyron, Chuba, and Brees in a 10-team league. So you're going from Mixon to Aaron Jones. Honestly, up to you. I probably prefer Mixon. Pickens to T. Higgins. I definitely prefer T. Higgins. Paying Brian Robinson's not the end of the world. I do think that we're overpaying here just a little bit. If we could keep Brian Robinson, I think it would be a trade that's worth making. Laker Niners says 2 and 4, 12-team, single flex, happy BR. Where we have Stafford, Cup, Addison, Pickens, Downs, Jameson, Dell, Eckler, Kamara, HN, Jeff Wilson, any trades. Two and 4, we may end up having to go out there and make a play to upgrade to the flex spot right now. I think you honestly may have to sell Devon Achane and George Pickens to go get an upgraded wide receiver for the flex, right? Ultimately, I don't know if this team's going to be good enough to actually be able to play Josh Downs in the flex and then not fall to 2 and 5 or say even 3 and 6 by the time we get Devon Achane back in. I don't want to be in that position. So if we can sell that long-term upside and get some points in the lineup on a 2 and 4 team right now, I would. Dave says trade Pickens for Lockett, full PBR. Up to you. I think that they're very, very close. Obviously, Pickens has been much better this year than Lockett. Now, Jackson says 12-team PBR single flex. 5 and 1, we have Stroud, Jacobs, Walker, A.J. Brown, Say, Kelsey, Godwin. On the bench, we have Lockett, Sutton, Charbonnet, Love, Jeb Wilson, Phil. We get wide receiver, any moves. We have Flowers, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin. It's not like we're weak at wide receiver, and I would say we're weak at quarterback. We have lock it for the long-term upside. We have Love, Stroud to play the match. I think it's a very well-balanced team. I understand maybe it's been a little bit frustrating at wide receiver, but I mean, when you go through and draft someone like Zay Flowers, right? You're not drafting him to make you feel great about our wide receiver position in the first month of the season. This is someone that we're expecting in the second half of the year to go out there and start producing for us. Ryan says, drop one, Spears, Algier, Roschon, Warren, London, Sutton. Najee goes down, Warren's a league winner. Deonta Foreman goes down, Roschon's a league winner. Bijan goes down, Algier's a league winner. Henry goes down, Spears is a league winner. I would like to drop one of these wide receivers. I don't know if we definitely can't drop London. It's either Sutton, Spears, or Roschon. Those will be one of the guys that you drop. Sutton, Spears, or Roschon because of how bad their respective offenses are. Antonio coming out says, Jefferson and Mixon for Eckler and A.J. Brown. I gave Jefferson. Great deal. I mean, Jefferson versus A.J. Brown. Give me A.J. Brown with the Jefferson injury. Mixon to Austin Eckler. It's Eckler by a freaking mile. Great, great trade, my friend. Iggy Biggie coming out saying 3-3, 12-team, happy BR format, single flex. We have Watson, Dak, Cup, Chase, Diggs, Palmer, Dobbs, Jacobs, JT, Roschon, Jeff Wilson, Musgrave, Thomas. Any trades? Also Hunt, Zach Evans, and Mason on the waiver wire. So, I mean, if you wanted to go out there and if you wanted to make a play for one of these waiver wire guys, not going to fault you for it. In reality, I would say that I would probably prioritize picking up another tight end if Luke Musgrave's our only tight end at this point in a single flex league. Terms of making trades, we're starting Dak, Chase, Diggs. Phenomenal. We don't have too much wide receiver depth. I don't have any trades. I would probably look to drop Logan Thomas and see if we can pick up another tight end off the waiver wire, especially if someone, say, drop like Pat Frymuth, right? I think that'd make a lot of sense. Now, Ben Brown says, we have Hunt, Jason, Warren, Akers, Charbonnet, Jameson, Palmer on the bench. Who should I drop for Jeff Wilson off the IR? And should we drop any for Deontay Johnson? So Jeff Wilson. Oh my gosh, brutal. I would drop Kareem Hunt for Deontay Johnson. And I'll drop Akers for Jeff Wilson. Because, I mean, if you are looking at Akers fell down to where he only played like 9 snaps this week. So if we only played like 9 snaps, it is much more difficult to get excited about. Cam Akers is anything more than a handcuffed running back. And if we're looking at him as a handcuffed running back and say Jeff Wilson's kind of the same thing, but who has a higher ceiling in that instance, you know? Xavier coming out says 9-team league. Should we trade Lamb for Jefferson? If you have a winning record and you can think long-term, then sure, go for it. Now, Char coming out saying, should I trade JT for Devonta Smith? We have Walker and Jacobs. I think both these players are intriguing buy low candidates. I do think that Jonathan Taylor has a higher ceiling, though. I think I would go JT. Now, Season coming out saying, I'm 6-0 in a $100 12-team Happy BR league. The HN and Amon-Ra owner wants to trade, and I'm tempted to make an offer. The team is Mahomes, JT, Hall, Montgomery, Stevenson, Chase, Adams, Allen, Adams, Ingram. What are your thoughts? Worried about Devontae Adams? I think a lot of people are worried about Devontae Adams at this point, my friend. If you could pivot over to like sell Devontae Adams and maybe a depth running back like Ramondre Stevenson for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Devon Achane, I think that would make sense. In reality, I don't think you're really going to get what you would want for Devontae Adams, and I would almost say that he's a better buy than a sell right now because of how worried people are about him. I'm trying to think. Outside of that, if you wanted to just make a smaller deal for like, I would say that's our plan A in terms of our offer. And then our plan B is to offer him Ramondre Stevenson for Devon Achane. And then if you have any depth wide receivers that we're not seeing on this team right now, then at that point, maybe you want to go ahead and include a depth wide receiver to get it done. But ultimately, it's a phenomenal team with the starting lineup. I don't necessarily think that we need to make a play. And I'd say we're maybe a little bit less inclined to go out there and trade for that long-term stud. Sacrifice short-term production for that long-term stud, specifically in a spot where we already lose David Montgomery. So we're kind of, I don't want to say holding on for life right now, but obviously we're already kind of thinned out just a bit. But yeah, super great team, my man. Wishing you the best of luck here. Great, great team. And thank you so much for being a long-time member of the flock. Now, Horizon coming out saying, 10-team full BBR, trade Higgins, Collins, Stroud for Goff, Jones, Metcalf, and have Pollard, Burrow, Hill, Hollywood, Palmer, Osborne, Pierce, and Deonta Foreman. Stroud to Goff, give me Goff. Higgins to Metcalf, up to you. Nico Collins, Aaron Jones, give me Aaron Jones. So yeah, we will go ahead, and I think we'll make that play. I mean, Aaron Jones, if you are going to trade for him, it has to be this week. He's going up against Denver. I think we probably see a pretty big, I don't want to call it a breakout game because obviously he's Aaron Jones. He broke out a long time ago. But probably see a pretty big game for Aaron Jones. And at the same time, I think we're getting upgrades elsewhere as well. Frank says, got sent Pollard for ETN. What are your thoughts? I would rather have Pollard over Travis Etienne. And trust me, I've drafted so much more Pollard than ETN this year. Like, if you look at the amount of teams that I have Pollard on, very little, and I have ETN everywhere. So, I mean, I think that maybe shows. I'm not biased at all in saying that. Now, A. Chris says, 12-team BBR double flex. We have Hurts, Eckler, Kamara, Brown, Olave, Henry, Waddle, Flowers. And then on the bench, Watson, Dell, Palmer, Downs, Spears, Jaleel, Howell. No one wants to trade for Howell. I'm thinking of trading for Higgins or Evans. What should I do? Okay. Yeah, I completely understand nobody wants to trade for Sam Howell, right? I mean, Sam Howell is someone that's on the waiver wire for a lot of people. And then I would say you just cut Sam Howell, to be honest with you. If you have Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts, if anything, you're trying to trade away Deshaun Watson and get some value out of that. And in terms of making trades, like very tough to do so. Like nobody's trading for Dell, nobody's trading for Palmer, nobody's trading for Downs, nobody's trading for Spears, nobody's trading for Jaleel. So in reality, I think we're just going to consistently churn the waiver wire here. Depth's going to matter a little bit more. And yeah, definitely don't be rostering 3 QBs. And I completely understand that nobody wants to trade for Sam Howell. Okay, you're saying it's Christian Watson. Okay, so if it's Christian Watson, then let's go. We can keep Sam Howell, right? Keep him as a backup quarterback if you really wanted to. I mean, if you have a lot of other people in your league only rostering 1 quarterback and you'd have fine QBs off the waiver wire on a team that has Jalen Hurts, I'd be fine even letting go of Sam Howell and making plays off the waiver wire. I'm trying to come up with any trade that makes a lot of sense for this team, my friend. But I think overwhelmingly, you're in a spot where the only moves that you can focus in on making, at least with what I see on this team, maybe I'm not being creative enough, would be waiver wire options. Of course, if you wanted to send like Zay Flowers and go get Devonta Smith to stack with Jalen Hurts, I'd like that. Okay. Now, Jacob says, start 1, Ridley, Myers, or London. We are going to go with Ridley. Sounds like Lawrence may actually play. And it looks like we're going to have to refresh this to keep bringing up these questions. Our next question is going to come out from Jack. But just give me 1 second to pull this up, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do this, if you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel. We've been live for about 2.5 hours. We have live streamed every single day since 2024. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And if you're new to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard on top of that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. But it's probably going to have to actually swing this in wrong way. Now, Ricky says, 4-2, 10-team lead. Do we give up Jefferson for Bijan? Appreciate you. Appreciate you, my man. I appreciate Bijan Robinson. Hogaborns, yes, we will do that, even on a 4-2 team. Jared says, 12-team PPR 6-0. Trade Myers for Pacheco. Yes, I think you can. Where we have Tyreek, A.J. Brown, Reynolds, Mixon, White, Ford. I mean, we have a ton of running backs, but I think you can still make that if you want. Keju says, Mason, I forgot that we have Derrick Henry on the bench as well. Okay. I'm very sorry, my friend. I can't pull up your initial question here. I'm trying. Hopefully that does not change much. I do not remember what we were talking about. And then Jack coming out with our next question saying 6-0, 14-team league. We have Burrow, Walker, Jacobs, Cook, Herbert, Connor, Tyreek, Kupp, Olave, Lockett, Andrews. Who should I target for the playoffs? 100% 6-0. This is a team that I think you can go out there and you can try to make a play for Justin Jefferson if possible. The thing is, what does that deal look like, right? We don't want to be trading Tyreek. I mean, I don't even know if we want to give up Kupp, specifically in a 14-team format as well, where these starters are going to be a little bit harder to come by. I think maybe we look to wait a week, and then once we get through another week here, if we can sell, like, say, Cooper Kupp, and then go get Justin Jefferson, hopefully being 7-0. But, I mean, this is just a phenomenal team in a 14-team format. If you could sell, like, Olave, James Cook here, in a 14-team league, maybe that would be decent enough to go get Jefferson, just considering the fact it's going to be very difficult for a lot of other people to field a competitive starting lineup. Now, Joe coming out says, 12-team PPR ESPN 6-0. We have Hurts, Eckler, Hall, Swift, Spears, Jaleel, Kupp, Moore, Puka, Terry, Michael Thomas, Laporta. Any moves? Thanks, Mason. Thank you, my friend. Kind of a similar boat to that other team, right? I mean, you're 6-0, loaded roster. If you could make a trade for Jefferson, that's really like the only thing that this team could do at this point. I mean, obviously, DJ Moore is that guy we were looking to sell last week. This week, maybe a little bit tougher. If you could sell like DJ Moore and Puka, DJ Moore, Michael Thomas, DJ Moore and McLaurin, and go get Jefferson, I think it makes a lot of sense. But also an interesting spot. Now we have Kupp on this team. It's like, okay, even if I'm 6-0, I don't know if we're going to be selling Kupp for Jefferson, right? So it is tough. It is tough. I mean, when you have a great team, it's tough to not do anything but just sit on your hands, to be honest. Now, Saram, always happy to see us, says, who to drop and please rank the waiver wire. Dalvin, Gainwell, Gibson, Jameson. Dalvin's the easiest drop in the world. I would drop Dalvin for, assuming that's Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, then Zach Evans, then Craig Reynolds, then Romeo Doubs, then Salvador Ahmed, then Latavius Murray. But yeah, I think the easy drop there will be Dalvin Cook with the Breece Hall usage. Is now Dalvin Cook's just a straight up backup running back in a bad offense. It's very inefficient that even if you were to see an injury, say to Breece Hall. I don't know if Dalvin's even viable then. Now, Joey says 14-team double flex, 4-2. We have Allen, DJ Moore, Pickens, Eckler, Mixon, Hawkinson, Palmer, Pitts, Jameson, Kyler, Warren, Zay. Any moves? Double flex format. $14-team league. Depth's going to matter a whole lot more. These depth wide receivers are going to want to hold on to. So Zay Jones actually makes sense on a roster like this. I don't necessarily have any moves for this team right now outside of if Kyler Murray is not on your IR, if instead you have to go through and actually roster him, probably go ahead and just let go of Kyler. Right? Probably. Joseph says 6-0, happy be our double flex league. We have Bijan, Achane, Gibbs, Gainwell, Warren, Ridley, Waddle, Amon-Ra, Addison, JSN. Good offered Eckler and Devonta Smith for Amon-Ra and Waddle. What are your thoughts? Smith versus Waddle, give me Waddle, but they're not super far off. Eckler versus Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to go Austin Eckler relatively easily, especially on a roster that we lose Devon Achane at this point, and we have the quality wide receiver depth, and also on a 6-0 team where we have Bijan, Achane, Gibbs, Addison, JSN, loaded up with rookies that are going to continue to get better as the season that goes on, and you were 6-0 as is. Great squad, my friend. Love to see it. Peyton says, Dynasty, trading Lamb and a second and getting an early first Watson, James Cook, yes or no? If you know it is an early first, like it is a top 3 pick, it's a super flex league, then we will take the package. If it could be like Drake May, if it could be Caleb Williams, then yeah, let's get the package. However, if it's like the 104 and it's a 1 quarterback format, then you're probably wanting to keep CeeDee Lamb. So it depends on how confident you are that that's an early first. And also, if it's super flex, the first is a lot more valuable. Stevan says got offered Kyron and Devonta Smith for Amon-Ra and Ramondre. I would rather have Amon-Ra and Ramondre, my friend. Gary says, I traded Puka, Christian Watson, and Taylor for Austin Eckler. If it is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I like it. Specifically if it's that shallow format. Joey says, I need help. Should we start Javonte or one of the waiver wire running backs this week? Evans, Mason, or Kareem Hunt? Definitely not Hunt. It'd be either Evans or Mason, but it's way too early to know right now. Before we get some more reports about the usage in these respective backfields, it's very hard to know what to project out. Isaiah says 3-3, 5th place, 10-team PBR, where we have Hurts, Smith, London, Watson, Jacobs, Walker, Kelsey, Brian Robinson, Thielen, Higgins, Osborne, Ferguson, Downs. Sell London, Thielen, or Watson, and should we make any other trades? Definitely not selling Watson. I mean, selling Watson, you're not going to get anything right now. Maybe if he has a massive week against Denver, then we reevaluate. But if you wanted to sell like London and Brian Robinson and go get an upgrade for the flex spot, we can at least explore that possibility in a 10-team league. We have the elite quarterback and the elite tight ends. We don't need to roster backup QB, backup tight ends if you didn't want to. We do have Ferguson down there. Throw Ferguson in any deal to just get any upgrade anywhere. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, I think that we would go sell one of those wide receivers. I just don't think you're going to get anything for Christian Watson at this point. Now, Giants says 1-5, 10-team PBR, 1 flex. We have Love, Breece, Pollard, Bijan, Ridley, Ferguson, Watson, London. Trying to trade Bijan. What should we look for? Why would you trade Bijan, my friend? He's a rookie running back in like the first 6 weeks of his NFL career. Went out there and had like 100 total yards per game. Is second in the NFL in targets right now at the running back position. I think you hold on to the running backs If you were going to make a trade, I think we send like London and Ferguson and go get a tight end upgrade, you know? I mean, the running backs are the only reason that this team has a win. So we need to be focusing on quarterback, tight end upgrades, and we'd be selling the wide receiver depth to get that done. Colin says, drop Dobbs for JSN. Oh, I'd get JSN in a heartbeat. Anthony says, 5-1, Jefferson injured. Single flex 10-team league. We have Lamb, Thielen, Hall on bye. We have Robinson, Ford, DeMarcado, Pittman, Downs, Pickens, Laporta. Tough week. It is a tough week. We're going to start Robinson, Ford at running back, Pittman, Pickens at wide receiver, and maybe Downs at the flex. But good thing is other people are going to have tough weeks as well. Week 7 when there are just this many buys. In worst case scenario, we lose and we're 5-2, you know? Like worst case scenario, we lose this week, get a bunch of our guys through the bye, and then we hit the ground running at 5-2. Austin says we have Lamar, Eckler, Pacheco, Brown, Ridley, Porta, Mixon. 3-3 to non-PPR format. I like it. Non-PPR, I mean, Eckler's a little bit more interesting, right? Because in a non-PPR format, then you're saying, oh, okay, well, the main thing that makes Eckler appealing in his receiving usage just isn't as important. Now, David says, Ford Flowers, who should we get instead of Thielen? I mean, if you were looking at another wide receiver for Jerome Ford and say Flowers, if you wanted to go get Olave, Waddle, Adams, I think that make a lot of sense. Obviously, if we get to the Lamb, St. Brown like last week, we would, which is probably much easier said than done at this point. And then actually we skipped ahead. That was David's question. But this one coming out from Chance who says, 12-team full BBR double flex. I'm 1-5 with Burrow, Eckler, Mixon, Ridley, Myers, Goddard, Puka, Pickens, McLaurin, Roshan, Jaleel. Is all hope lost or any moves to come back? So you had the Eckler injury. You had the Burrow injury. Now you have Eckler back. Hopefully Burrow will be 100% after the bye. If we could sell Pickens and like McLaurin in a package and go get a wide receiver upgrade for the flex, even if we are maybe selling a little bit of long-term upside for that short-term production, I would look to do that if we can. If possible, that is. Now, Peace Among Worlds coming out saying 12-team, happy BR 2-4. We have Fields, CMC, JT, Waddle, Wilson, Kittle, Ramondre, Javonte, Hollywood, Downs, Foreman, Michael Wilson. Trade Ramondre, Downs for DJ Moore and Rachaad White. Any other ideas? So Ramondre to Rachaad White, lateral move, slight downgrade. Downs to DJ Moore, upgrade. I don't love it. 2-4, we need production right now. So Downs obviously is not necessarily the guy that we want. I'd say 2-4. I mean, Justin Fields was that sell-high guy for us last week. Probably want to stand by the fact that you're, if you can, going to be incentivized to go out there and sell Justin Fields and really just get any production we can at the quarterback production right now. I mean, at the quarterback position right now. Just really get anything we could there. Now, Julian says Ferguson, Musgrave, or Schultz. Which tied into roster? Ignore buys. Okay, if we're ignoring buys, we're going to go Dalton Schultz. I mean, I actually drafted Schultz in best ball and was very embarrassed about how much we drafted him up until the past few weeks. Past few weeks, he's looked pretty good. Looked pretty good. Now, Swerve coming out saying Tua, Montgomery, Kyron. B-Rod, Gus, Mitchell, Chase, Cup, St. Brown, Thielen, Godwin, Schultz, Mayer, Richardson on the IR. Rate the team and any suggestions at running back. So it's brutal having both the Montgomery and Kyron injuries the same week. Now we're going to have to be starting someone like Gus. We have Chase on bye, so the depth, and we have Thielen on bye, so the depth is just completely shot with this team. We have Schultz on bye as well. I would say the main suggestion that I would have is maybe a boring suggestion here, but to just go through and continue to stay patient if we can. If you're 2-4, if you're 1-5, you may have no other option but to go out there and sell a player like David Montgomery. You may have no other option but to go out there and sell a player like Kyron Williams. But it looks like it's one of those weeks where we're going to have a 15 to 30% chance to win. We just got to be fine with it. And we just have to hope that our team is at 100% next week. Now, Michael coming out saying 12-team PPR 4-2. We have Allen, Pacheco, Mixon, Ridley, Jefferson, Hawkinson, Sutton, Downs, Rashee Rice, Dameon Pierce. No running back depth. Should we trade Jefferson and Mixon for Michael Pittman Jr. and Aaron Jones? Mixon to Aaron Jones, lateral move, right? Aaron Jones to the bye. So, I mean, you get an extra week, but Mixon has been much better so far this season. Mixon has had the consistent volume as well. Going from Jefferson to Pittman is such a downgrade, even if we have a lack of depth with these bye weeks, that I'd say there's no way that we can make this move. That we need to go ahead and we need to hold on to Justin Jefferson. I understand the thought process. I understand the struggle. Like, trust me, I just had to go through and rank our top 30 running backs this week, and it was the nastiest thing you could ever imagine. But yeah, if you're selling Jefferson, we need a better price than that. But our last question was coming out from Michael. Now, our next one will be Billy Joe. Let me go ahead and refresh this so we can keep bringing them up. And as I do this, go down there, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. We are closing in on 800 likes this live stream, about 500 likes away. And if you have not done so already, also subscribe to the channel. We've live streamed every single day since April, about to be live for 3 hours today, maybe even more. It looks like we have more questions to get to. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and a Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that. Now, swing this around. Billy Joe says 10-team PBR 2-4, where we have Fields, Strouds, Ayuk, Amari, Kupp, CMC, Pierce, Smith, Godwin, Samuel, Ingram, Dell. Running back room is in shambles. Quarterback is as well, my man. Any trade ideas? We're 2-4. We have Fields injured, Stroud on bye, Pierce on bye, Dell on bye. We send up a prayer that CMC makes it through. I think we have to possibly explore the option of selling Brandon Ayuk and Dameon Pierce to go get an upgrade at running back. Like, you can go Brandon Ayuk and Dameon Pierce and go get someone in the Kenneth Walker range. I think that'd be a no-brainer. Now, Igni Milpa says 10-team at BBR, 3 receivers, 2 flex. We have Hurts, Diggs, Lamb, Waddle, Watson, Hollywood, Collins, JSN, Walker, Taylor, Williams, Swift, Goff, Jeff Wilson Jr. What are your thoughts? I think wide receiver depth's going to matter a lot more in this format. We can start 5, and we have Diggs, Lamb, Waddle, Watson, Hollywood, Nico, JSN. Phenomenal team. If this was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, I think we'd have a lot of work to do with it, but great squad. I would throw Jared Goff out there in the trade block for the, Justin Fields team, for the Anthony Richardson team. See if they'd be willing to go out there and pay up when we have Jalen Hurts. Now, Dilly says 10-team non-BBR, 1-5 start. We have Cousins. Should we pick up Stafford off waivers to stack with Kupp? If so, drop Jaleel or Judy. We're holding on to Judy if he's traded. Drop Jaleel. Yes, there's an outside chance that Judy does get dealt. Pick up Stafford. You don't need to play Stafford right away. Actually, we would play him this week over Cousins. Stabbing Cousins going up against San Fran. Yeah, just play the matchups with these guys going forward. Travis says 10-team PBR, 3 receivers and a flex. traded Henry Evans, got A.J. Brown. What are your thoughts? The team's now Lamar, Jacobs, Mostert, Kyron, Montgomery, Chase, A.J. Keenan, Puka, Watson, Elijah, and Hawkinson. I think because it's a 10-team league, you probably wanted the best player, and especially when we have a loaded roster like this. I mean, after this, we're probably not going to be making too many moves outside of waiting for Kyron Williams and David Montgomery to come back and be healthy. But yeah, great team. Dylan says 5-1, trade Bijan for Devontae Adams, Mixon, and Mike Evans. If it is a league where depth is prioritized, like a multiple flex league with 12 or more teams, then sure. If it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, probably not. Zeke the Don says, should we trade Lamb for Thielen or Ayuk? No, I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb. DH says Puka, Madison, Lawrence for Hurts and Zay Flowers in a PPR format. Give me Puka over Zay Flowers, but Madison and Lawrence versus Jalen Hurts. Give me Jalen Hurts. I think it's a fair deal, and it's up to you. I'm a big Hurts guy, so I'd probably go Hurts. Bazim says 12-team at PPR, Stevenson, Moore, and Miles Sanders for Swift, Pierce, and Najee Harris. Going from Stevenson to Swift, give me Swift. Moore to Najee, and Miles Sanders to Najee, lateral move, who cares? Moore to Pierce, give me Moore. I would go with the best player in the deal. I think we take DeAndre Swift. Noah says 9-team PPR where we have Goff, Diggs, Kelsey, Jacobs, Montgomery, Smith, Metcalf. Should I trade Jacobs and Christian Kirk for Tony Pollard? I mean, 9-team league, depth's not going to matter too much. I actually drafted a lot more Josh Jacobs than Tony Pollard this year. But yes, I would go out there and make that trade for Pollard. Isaiah says 2-4, 8 in 8th place, 10-team single flex league where we have Hurts, Waddle, Thomas, Gabe Davis, Stevenson, Walker, Hawkinson, Downs, Judy, JSN, Spears, Roshan, Connor. Not a big fan of this team. What moves would you try to make? I think we're going to be trying to sell Michael Thomas and James Conner to get the best wide receiver 2 that we can in return. I mean, just ultimately, if you're 2-4, we can't really be thinking about the long-term upside that you may have with James Conner, and instead we need to be thinking about production for right this second. So I think that's the primary move that we are going to be looking to make, my friend. Is just taking some of that long-term value for James Conner and trying to cash it in right now to get an upgrade at wide receiver. Marcus says 12-team league, 3 receivers in a flex. We're 1-5. Should I trade Kupp for Pickens, Ford, Christian Watson? The team is Fields, Henry, Spears, Akers, Kupp, McLaurin, Jacoby, Logan, Higgins, Jake Ferguson, Gainwell, Keontae, and Shaheed. Honestly, no. I mean, I understand depth matters more, and I understand this team is kind of lacking a little bit of depth overall. But no, I mean, trading Kupp for Pickens, Ford, and Christian Watson is still just such a big downgrade. You need Kupp. I mean, I like the idea. You need more value if you were going to do it, though. Trevor says, should we trade Ridley and Pierce for Etienne or Kamara in a half PPR format? Yeah, I'd go get Etienne there. Luke says, do we trade Debo and JT for Jamar Chase, currently 2-4? Yes, let's go get Jamar Chase. Clutchbox says 3-3, Lamb and Ridley. Sorry, CMC and Ridley for Barkley, Brees, and Higgins. Ridley to Higgins, up to you. CMC versus Barkley and Brees, give me CMC. I mean, news is CMC may play Monday. So if they're saying CMC may play Monday, then it sounds like he should be good to go. I mean, if not this week, then next week. Anthony says, Dynasty 12-team PPR. 3 wide receivers, 1 flex. Herbert, Etienne, Walker, Garrett Wilson, Addison, Myers, Hawkinson, JT, and then Stroud, HN, T. Higgins, JSN, London, Schultz. Have someone's 104 or better. Trader holds. Okay. 1 quarterback format. The pick's going to be worth just a little bit less. And then also a 2025 first for Addison. I would sell the 2025 first for Addison. I'm probably going to look to hold the other pick. I think Addison makes the difference for this team in the short and long term. If this is going to be that 1 quarterback dynasty league, I'd say Addison's going to be that play better than that player we get at a random 2025 first. Now, Ryan says 5-1, trade Smith, Pittman, Hawkinson for Lamb, Watson, Goddard. 12-team PPR, pair Jamar and Lamb, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. And Watson at the flex, looking for upside. It's a 12-team PPR league. Thank you. No, thank you. Smith to Lamb, give me Lamb. Hawkinson to Goddard, obviously Hawkinson. Pittman to Watson, give me Pittman. You can do this if you really wanted to go get the elite level wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. I think Smith will be better than he has been going forward. And at the same time, TJ Hawkinson is just absolutely crushing. Rob says pick up Hunt Javante. We have Bijan, Gainwell, Gus, Mercado. Who do we drop? Also Waddle for Lamb. Give me Lamb over Waddle. And I would drop Mercado for Javante. Edwards versus Hunt. Up to you. I mean, I think Hunt has higher ceiling if something were to occur to Jerome Ford. But if I was going to be forced to start one of these guys this week, I'd probably go through and probably go Gus Edwards. Now, Dylan coming out saying 3-3 10-team PPR format where we have Purdy, Aaron Jones, Zach Evans, Pittman, Waddle, Pitts, and then on the bench, HNT, CD, Chuba, Taji. Lots of poverty at running back. Would you trade away Lamb for Saquon? Or what other moves would you be looking to make? Well, we get Aaron Jones coming back from the bye week, my man. I understand that beyond that, I mean, we're really struggling with Devon Achane injured, but we should have Achane back in the long term. On the bench, I mean, if you are planning on starting, benching CeeDee Lamb, I think it does make a lot of sense for us to go and sell one of these wide receivers. I think I would try first to sell either Jalen Waddle for Saquon Barkley or Michael Pittman in a small piece for Saquon Barkley. I think that would be optimal in my mind. Another move that we could look to make is if we were able to keep CeeDee Lamb and sell, like, say, Jalen Waddle for Barkley and then balance out running back, wide receiver, then at that point, I think we could pick up another quarterback off the waiver wire and then roster two quarterbacks and play the matchups between Brock Purdy and another quarterback going forward. Okay. B says, Barkley, Brees, Brown, Ayuk, Laporta, Kirk. Any trade options? I am very sorry, my man. It's hard to know without seeing the bench. I'd say if I could sell Laporta for Hawkinson, I would, or Andrews, I would do it. Max says 12-team at BBR where we have Lamar, Moore, Higgins, Jacobs, Mostert, Ferguson, Godwin. Lost Chubb and Dobbins, so depth is poor. Looking to trade Moore in Mostert. What are your moves? Probably should have sold Moore last week, but Mostert's going to be a hold for me. I mean, especially if we lost those running backs. If you wanted to sell DJ Moore and get like Deontay Johnson and another startable player, like sell DJ Moore for Brian Robinson and Deontay, at that point, I mean, at this point, that's really going to be like the only thing that you're looking at. I'm just telling you right now, you're not really going to be getting much for DJ Moore. I mean, he was a sell-high guy for us last week, but people are just expecting this to be a very bad offense with no Fields. Okay. Now, Lalo says, Amari and James Cook, Amari for an Olave range. Should we drop Johnston? Yes, drop Johnston. And then I'd try to be shooting a little bit higher if we get like Devontae Adams there. I would really like that. Now, Louis says 2 and 4 must-win mode. Any moves? 12-team, 3 receivers, 1 flex. We have Hurts, JT, James Cook, Walker, Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, Chase, Pittman, Watson, Zay, Shaheed, Goddard, and Kmet. Okay. 3 wide receiver, 1 flex. I don't really see too many moves that we're going to make. I mean, it's great that we're getting JT back in, expanding his role overall. I'm very sorry. I think that honestly, we may just need to hit the waiver wire and we really need to prioritize wide receiver depth in this kind of format. Jack says 10-team PPR where we have Diggs, Cup, Andrews, Puka, Brian Robinson, Swift, Gibbs, Ridley, Fields, Love. I'm 1 and 5. Do we trade Diggs for Pollard and Waddle? If it is a league where you have more than 2 wide receivers, 1 flex in your starting lineup, then sure. I think it's a very good price if it's a league where you have, say, 2 flex spots. Chris says pick up Geno or Sam Howell to start. I'm going to go Geno against Arizona. Drew says do we accept Kelsey and Puka and give up CMC and Thielen? I would rather have CMC and Thielen, my friend. I don't think now's the time to be selling on CMC. Mel Bailey says, Big Mace, which 2 would you want to give up to get Chase? Olave, Lamb, Amon-Ra, St. Brown. I would go St. Brown and Olave, CD and Olave. I don't think we would go CD and St. Brown. And then also running back 2, we're going to go Roshan or Jerome Ford. Ooh, very interesting. We actually just made our rankings for this week. And we have these guys damn near back-to-back. I have Jerome Ford at 21 and I have Roshan at 22. So not only do we have them damn near back, but we have them exactly back-to-back, my man. I think it's up to you. I mean, I have Jerome Ford as the guy ahead. And then Geno, Carr, Love, all full PBR. Haven't looked a ton into the quarterbacks just yet. I would say probably Geno would be my guy. Probably. I mean, Geno and Love both have great matchups. Jonathan says I got offered Waddle or Hall and Barkley for A.J. Brown and Moss. What do we think? It's a 10-team PPR where we have Hurts as our quarterback. You'd rather have Hall over Waddle, probably. You're giving up the best player to get 2 quality pieces in return. If this is a multi-flex league, I would be fine with you going ahead and making that play. However, if it's a single flex format, you probably do want to be keeping A.J. Brown. Owned by CIA says 5-1, traded Lamb for Jefferson a week ago. I feel like I overpaid. If you're 5-1, it's fine, right? Like, you probably did overpay, but ultimately at the end of the day, if we get back 4 weeks from now, Jefferson's playing and he's the wide receiver 1, doesn't make that much sense. I mean, does it matter? Trevor says 4-2, 12-team full BBR, where we have Howell, Etienne, Mixon, Gibbs, Jaleel, Roshan Charbonnet, St. Brown, Lamb, Puka, Deontay, JSN, Hawkinson. Recently traded Pickens for Jahmyr Gibbs. I just got offered Debo and Purdy for Mixon. What are your thoughts? Give me Mixon over Debo and Purdy. The thing is, if I'm trading for a quarterback, I always want to be trading for a quarterback that is in the category of matchup proof, that we are starting every single week regardless. Like, if you trade for Brock Purdy, you're still kind of in the business streaming QBs, you know? So it doesn't really do us anything. I think the Gibbs deal makes a ton of sense, especially in a full BBR format chasing upside. And I like the idea of going out there and trying to trade for a quarterback. But when we're trading for, like, the quarterback games, you either stream matchups or you trade for a stud that's matchup proof, right? I don't think we're playing the in-between. Robert, always happy to see us, says, thankful for your channel and advice. Full BBR sit one of Michael Wilson, Jalen Warren, or Jerry Jeudy. Brutal spot, my friend. Probably Michael Wilson. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy embarrassed himself on national television. Let me pull up the volume that these guys have had. You have to play Jalen Warren here easily. Can everybody spam the chat? Who do you think has more receiving yards this season? Michael Wilson or Jerry Jeudy? Who has more receiving yards? Michael Wilson or Jerry Jeudy? Please let me know. We got Wilson, Jeudy. God, we're lagging. Okay. Jeudy, Wilson, Jeudy, Jeudy. Wilson. So it does look like the chat split 50-50. I honestly thought it was a 50-50 toss-up. It's not even remotely close. Michael Wilson, 317 receiving yards. Jerry Jeudy at 222. Michael Wilson's played an extra game, but still. Michael Wilson's done it off of significantly less volume. He's only had 22 targets compared to Jerry Jeudy at 29. Probably still go Jerry Jeudy, but it's damn. If you wanted to go Michael Wilson over Jeudy, not going to fault you for it. Will not fault you for it. Blaine says 10-team Superflex, full PPR, 3-3 record. We have Hurts, Stroud, Dimes, Kyron, Stevenson, Warren, Spears, Sanders, Olave, Lamb, Puka, London, Dell. You got to sell London in either Dimes and go get an upgraded quarterback, or honestly, more importantly, probably got to go through and send London and Stevenson and get an upgrade at running back if we can. I mean, running back depth, quarterback 2 here is going to be extremely questionable. Superflex format, obviously, that's not a position we want to be in, where we do have more than enough wide receiver depth. I mean, obviously, it's much, much easier said than done, but we can at least try it. Reed coming out says $82 won since Sunday with Underdog. Just signed up. Thanks. So thank you so much, my man. And congrats on the success. Wishing you the best of luck. And of course, if y'all want to go check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. And on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to Underdog Fantasy, a Derek Carr special pickup, more than less than half a total yard. And I'm actually going to get y'all hooked up with another one very soon. So please make sure you sign up with promo code FLOCK. We'll have another Flock exclusive coming for y'all. Ryan says 4-2, 10-team, full BBR single flex. But we have Stafford, Fields, Cup, Lamb, Bijan, JT, Brees, Gibbs, Laporta, JSN, Warren, Jameson, Judy. Any suggestions? 10-team single flex league, these depth wide receivers just simply do not matter. So any chance we get to go through and send like Jameson Williams and Matthew Stafford for an upgraded quarterback, we do it. Or go send Jameson and Brees for an upgraded running back, we do it. Just ultimately, the wide receiver depth pieces in this format are not going to move the needle, but great team. Mark says waiver wire, Zach Evans, Craig Reynolds, or Keontae Ingram. Zach Evans probably has the highest ceiling, while at the same time, the lowest floor out of any of those guys. I do not know, my man. I do not know. Now, Austin says non-BBR, only 3 running backs max on the roster. We have Pollard, Swift, Montgomery. Would you drop for Aaron Jones off waivers? Yeah, I mean, if you can only roster 3 RBs, you may have to drop Montgomery for Aaron Jones, right? You can't drop Pollard. He's on bye. We're going to play Swift. So it's either we take a 0 or we go out there and make the Blues. So it sucks, but yeah, got to get rid of Montgomery for Aaron Jones there. Hate that roster setting. Rusty, always happy to see us, says 3-3, trade Ford, Gibbs, Komet for Kelsey and Connor. Oh yeah, go get Kelsey. No brainer there. I don't even care about Connor in the deal. The other owner is only 1-5 and yeah, needs really help at running back. Should we add in Pittman or Watson? I mean, if we get Pittman or Watson from them, that's a no-brainer. I don't know if we're going to add it on our side, but yeah, let's go get Kelsey and Connor there. No-brainer. And if they say no to that, I'll tell them that you can keep Connor. Who cares? Not So Good Gaming says, need to fill in at wide receiver this week. Do we go Downs, Dobbs, JSN, Samuel, Rashee Rice? Thanks for the help. Get some rest. Thank you, my friend. I think Downs is tough because he goes up against Cleveland. I probably go Romeo Dobbs against Denver, just given the matchup, even though I'm not excited about Dobbs with the healthy Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. James says 10-team BBR 4-2, where we have Allen, Brian Robinson, Mostert, Chase, Addison, Moore, Andrews, Higgins, Johnson, Rice, Osborne. Any moves? Not necessarily, my friend. I mean, you have a phenomenal team here. If we could take one of those depth wide receivers like Rashee Rice and go sit him with Brian Robinson and go get an upgraded running back, that'd make a lot of sense. I mean, we have Roschon Johnson for some depth here. We have Mostert obviously holding down the fort. The one question that I have is, like, what does the workload look like for Mostert long term? Like, when Achane comes in, is there a chance that this is a 3-man running back by committee 5 weeks from now? Rogers says 2-4 full BBR format. Trade Goff and Gabe Davis for Puka. We have Hurts, Ayuk, Flowers. I think we can do this. Also pick up Waller or Michael Mayer. Where to go Darren Waller? Y'all know Darren Waller was someone we were avoiding like the plague in drafts this year, but I would say if we can pick him up off the waiver wire, let's do it. PK says trade Jefferson for AJ. Also, are your rankings updated? So if you go to flockfantasy.com, you can hit add creator and you'll see exactly when all my and all the other creators' rankings have been updated. And you can click on them, sort by each one. So you'll see last time mine were updated. I think it was like 6 days ago. But trade Jefferson for AJ Brown. Yeah, I'll go get AJ Brown 3-3 if we need wins right now. Emmanuel says, thank you for what you do. No, thank you, my man. 12-team Superflex Dynasty full PBRs. Gibbs a sell. Example, trade him away for a future first straight up Brees Hall's our other running back. Depends where the first round pick lines up. If you could sell Jahmyr Gibbs and get an early first round pick in his Superflex Dynasty League, yeah. If you can sell Jahmyr Gibbs, hit the reset button for next year and get the 103, 104 where you drafted him this season, what should be perceived to be a better class, I think that would be something we look to do. I don't want to be selling him for like the 112 by any means. Ryan says, I traded Burrow and Schultz for Eckler. Oh, that is phenomenal, my man. Great, great deal. Love to see it. Douglas says, Aaron Jones for James Cook and Zay Flowers. I probably prefer Aaron Jones. I think Jones is the best player in the deal. If you need a wide receiver depth, I'm fine if you wanted to go with the Cooks and James Cook and Flowers side. Joseph coming out says 3-3. Thank you for your work and commitment. And thank you for being a member of the flock, my man. 12-team BBR redraft. Starters are Tua, Jacobs, Pacheco, Kupp, Puka, Ingram, DK. The bench is Debo, Godwin, Elijah, Rice, Dak, and Tutu. We can cut Tutu now at this point with Kupp back in. I'll probably pick up another running back off the waiver wire just to backfill some depth when we have this many wide receivers as is. And outside of that, very well-balanced team. I don't necessarily think that we have to be doing anything here. Love that we're not rostering the backup quarterback. I mean, we have a viable tight end that we can start every week as well. I'm sorry, we're rostering Dak, but he's fine. He has the upside as a backup quarterback. We're not rostering both a backup quarterback and backup tight end. I think it's a very strong team. The only thing I'd say is let's balance it out a bit down there on the bench. Drop 2-2 for a running back. But yeah, in terms of like any big blockbuster trades, I don't think you need to make any. Now, Keegan, happy to see us as full BBR 8-team League 1 flex. We have Lamar, Bijan, Kamara, Kupp, A.J. Brown, Kelsey, Saquon, Watson, DJ Moore, Amari, T, Brees, Achan. Just want to say thanks, Seek1. Thanks, Seek1. I traded Kupp week 1. Oh, I'm so dumb, my man. Week 1, I traded Kupp for DeAndre Hopkins. In week 3, we traded Puka for A.J. Brown. So we made a very bad deal at the beginning, very good deal at the end. Yeah, great Puka for A.J. Brown deal. I mean, there were a lot of people going through and making those trades. But, actually, no. Oh, you said you traded Hopkins. We have Kupp. We have Kupp and A.J. Brown. So we got that flip. So we were able to sell Hopkins for Kupp week 1. Beautiful. Especially in that 18 League 1 flex. Obviously, the only thing we're going for is that long-term upside. Now when we have this other wide receiver depth, of course, like if we have freaking Kelsey on this is a nutso team. If you could sell like DJ Moore and Kamara and go get a stud running back at this point, I think that would make a lot of sense, especially with Jamal Williams possibly coming back in New Orleans. Now, Fishy says 4-2, 12-team BBR single flex. We have Hurts, Stroud, Kyron, HN, Najee, Chase, DJ Moore, Flowers, Ferguson. Who should we try to trade for better running backs? If you could send like Stroud and Najee and go get a viable running back, I think that make a lot of sense. 12-team league, honestly, maybe that would be a possibility if teams are struggling at quarterback with the combination of the Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields injuries. Cole coming out said 12-team BBR with only one flex. 2-4 after starting 0-4. Hell yes, my man. Burrow, Geno, Bijan, Gibbs, Taylor, Javonte, Achan. Chase, Waddle, London, Kirk, Osborne, Hawkinson. Need to win ASAP. I 100% agree with you. It's great that we're getting Taylor expanding his role. Gibbs may be viable right now. I don't think you have to make any moves because I think this is a very strong team as is. But what I would say is if there's a possibility of us selling the long-term upside of a Devon Achan and Jahmyr Gibbs package and going and getting just a rock-solid stud running back for the time being, going and getting someone like Kenneth Walker, that's going to help us go from 2-4 to 3-4, and then hopefully 3-4 to 4-4. I think that'd make so much sense with this team. But yeah, way to scrap together those wins those past 2 weeks. Jeremiah says 5-1, 10-team non-BBR trade. Brees, Chuba for Pollard and Olave. Brees to Pollard, give me Pollard. Chuba to Olave, give me Olave. Yeah, we would do that, my friend. Kennedy says, should I trade Kenneth Walker and Amon-Ra for Jacobs and Chase? Give me Chase over Amon-Ra, Walker to Jacobs. Give me Walker, but kind of close. We would go Chase side. Yeah, especially if it's a shallow format. Give me the best player, which is Chase. Zane says, rest of season, Puka or Pittman. Very, very close, and it's going to come down to what you believe the volume can be in Indianapolis with Gardner Minshew. I believe it comes down to what you think of Minshew, my friend. But I think that's all I have for y'all in this live stream. We've been live for over 3 hours, so please subscribe to the channel if somehow you're not already. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the Derek Carr special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for Thursday. But thank you again. Really do appreciate y'all. Really hope you have a great night, and Really hope we get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow night.